nation, destroys our generation. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. Looking for inspiration in my life. Looking for inspiration all the time. Looking for, looking for, looking for, looking for. Hey!
Alrighty, hello everybody. Coming on in, I can see Racer James coming in. He's working on the subby. How we doing here, George? Welcome everybody coming in. Fantastic day out today. Very warm, that's for sure. Let's check the audios out here. Make sure those are all solid here. You know what I forgot to do? Do that right now while I'm in my little spiel here. We're gonna get everything up and running here as far as to go over the latest things with the Dover International Speedway for the NASCAR Racing 2003 Racing Simulation. Turn this down just a tad. But what I did not do, let me do this right now, is I'm trying to get these things going on in time. I hope everybody's doing well, like I said, on this Saturday. Weather's just fantastic here today. Alright, let's do that. Let's kind of let everybody else know that we're out here. There we go. Let's see. Getting things loaded up. What's everybody been up to today anyway? I know James says he's mentioned he's working on his subby. He's working on some audio, I guess, on his new can get some thumping going on in that car. Okay, so this is... Yeah, this is the one I want. Copy that. You're just sitting on your butt. Gotcha. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that as far as just taking it easy and chillaxing. Just getting things loaded up here. Let's let everybody else know, I guess, as far as where we're at. We are live. If I can get the darn phone to be kind to me here. Trying to do more things off the phone, I guess, as far as running the web pages and all that stuff as far as the monitor the stream and all that stuff on there. I'm hoping maybe that'll potentially help alleviate, I guess, some of the system strain, I guess, anyway. Well, not really. It's just lower. Oh, with the wire I added. All that extra bulk. That's fair. But at least it's all neatly done. That's the difference there, right? Okay, let's do this. Oh my goodness. Like that. Paste. There we go. I think I got it working now. Telling you what. Technology anymore, that can be the death of you sometimes. 100 pounds of copper. That's probably pretty close. He's putting some amps and probably the subs and all that stuff himself. Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures James has been posting out what he's been doing with the new car. He put the new neon strips. I forgot what color they were, but I remember he put some neon flare, I guess, underneath the car and all that good stuff. He'll be rolling with the with all the homies, I guess, pretty soon here. I guess as I said, okay, looks like everything is loaded up here. Cool. Let's bring this on over. Subways, yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Oh, that's something else I missed there too. Let me get that going. I need to get this going here too. I keep that turned off there just until get the stream going. There we go. Okay, I also got the wheel overlay. We will be getting into the track here, as we usually do. That was weird. It's kind of stuck on that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we will be checking out the track, I guess, once we go over what's been updated with it, as we have been. So, be sure to stick around for that. If you care to want to see a little bit of racing on there, we usually just do some short little 20-lap races in there. But we got lots have been updated here. Some new items. Some things have just been simply updated. So just to kind of give a little bit of rundown here. What we did last week was we gone over the fact that some of the LPs, primarily the pit lines, as far as those LPs, the panic lines, and the limp deals there. So I've got those all put into our game track folder, which is here. I got this all set up to be able to make a new DAT file based on all the new information that we've got applied to the track. We'll go over all those new items there first. Torch taking the incentive here, I guess, to update the positioning, just the positioning of the cars and the warm wagons and on pit road as far as the stalls. So I've updated that, and I have backed up the other one there. Always want to back up until you can confirm everything's good to go. Always a good thing to do. We got our new PTF with all the new stuff in here. So we did remove some stuff. Some of the infield poles that were in the infield there, those are now replaced with a new item. All this stuff right here, though, either brand new or replacement, I guess, for what was in there previously. So we've got the better part of, without including, I guess, the README files here, we got about 42 some odd items here. So yeah, let's kind of take a look around the track now. I got it loaded up here. One of the things I did kind of take note of, I guess, as far as what's been replaced, and I know Torch had mentioned this last week, was the addition to this here. Now you wouldn't tell by looking at it, but this is actually an object as far as a 3D model there, as opposed to geometric. And to be honest there, like I said, if you didn't look twice at it, whatever, you would never know that that wasn't a geometric wall. I'm not 100% sure if there still needs to be an adjustment to the actual pit stall line. That's the only thing that really gives it away, I guess, a little bit. That was one thing I guess I kind of noticed there. So whether or not that still needs to be adjusted, not 100% sure, but you can definitely tell that the end of the wall used to be right at this line, just like over on this side. That is an object now, like I said. Did the snipping thing you suggested? Yeah, and that seems to work out pretty good. Oh, the blue lights. Yeah, you were mentioning the blue lights there, James. That's right. Gotcha. Yeah, I remember you put the lights under the car there. I just couldn't remember which color. That was what the blue referencer was. But yeah, that snipping reference as far as take a snippet of the geometric wall and potentially apply that to your texture in your 3D modeled wall. You really can't tell at all, I guess, as far as where that begins and ends and so on, if you weren't. Turned out pretty good. Let's slow this camera down just a tad. Maybe not that much. There we go. That's a little better. It's kind of panning around here a little bit. So, that was one thing. Another thing I took note of was obviously the removal of those other, the previous infield lights. Now these don't illuminate. These are just static. That's the other thing I took note of there too. These are new lights for the infield. As we recall, the ones that were in here previously, they were kind of floating out in here. So these are new, replaced. I guess those ones that I showed that were removed. So that's another item that hasn't either replaced or is brand new. I'm taking a look over here. Look, a lot of detail in this thing here. I'm just panning around here too, I guess, to kind of get a feel, I guess, for any lag, you know, as far as any frame rate drops, whatever, while we're panning around in this. Steel Crafter, come on in. How we doing there, Steel? Just showing off some of the brand new work that Torch has done, I guess, as far as we've been assisting Torch in his track build, I guess, for the Dover International Speedway for use in the NASCAR Racing 2003 season racing simulation. Yeah, we showed these last week as far as the new pit lights. Never really did get a chance to really see the function of that, other than the pit entry light. But these are brand new from last week. Looks like this is now in the proper position. I know this is one of the things we talked about. So out of all the other updates that we've done there, this now looks proper, I guess, as far as on the back of this Goodyear trailer. Looks pretty good. Something else I took note of that's brand new here, and I wanted to see how these work. There are new decals in here for, so I imagine you're still using the TSD. I'm going to take a closer look at this. That used to exist in these positions, I guess, to make this object here for these grass logos. So I'm going to take a look in here. So we have now these TSD. There's also some shadows I want to, per the recommendation I just said last week. Where were those at again? I think it was these track logos here, if I wasn't mistaken. Maybe I looked at those wrong, but I want to check. So this one here, this one's a track logo. Let me open this up here and see. So yeah, here's one. And I see you've got this. You're using the position that was already, so you didn't zero it out or anything like that, so it's already in position. You can just leave it at 0. So there's one of them. But are these using the same texture? So track logo 1. These I did not look at yet, but I did notice they had been replaced. And maybe I did not. Let me read this information. So we're adding these items and removing those TSDs. So this is the information that's been provided. So these TSDs can necessarily be removed. I don't think I did that yet. So these have been redone. Now, my suggestion was you could have necessarily still used those same textures for creating those 3D objects for that. But if you've taken the initiative, I guess, to just rename those logos, I guess, like that, that's fair enough too. Let's open this up here anyway. I'm just kind of curious. It's got tons of testing your trucks, a new tune-up. Nice, cool. So yeah, the fact that you've got like 2 reminding, and you got one for the Spline Designs over there, right? If I remember correctly. Oh, there's Steel. The rocks now, right? Yeah, so we got the Rockinator over there. Steel has taken the initiative, I guess, of doing me a solid, I guess, if you want to put it that way. I guess as far as creating some monster trucks. He's running a monster truck event over there. I guess he's got some qualifiers or something of that nature. You can probably explain that a little bit better than I can there, Steel, I guess, as far as for some participants over on his event map that he's got going on for Farm Sim 19. Pretty cool stuff there. So the fact that he's for some of the help that I've helped him up with some stuff, I guess, with the monster trucks. He's painted up personal truck of mine, actually a couple of them, and then one for the Spline Designs Studios being showcased, I guess, around the arena as well. He's got plenty of other trucks there too. I know he's got a breast cancer awareness one that he's freely giving away, I guess, for pretty much the whole month. I think you said, Steel. He's been just kind of putting the link in his chat during his live streams or whatever to provide that to the public, you know, as far as the users dropping on by the stream there and checking things out there. You watched some of the truck racing last weekend? Yeah, it was pretty cool stuff. I think they were just kind of testing out things or whatever. I think last week, if I remember right. But pretty much every Saturday, Steel tries to run, you know, an event. You know, as far as that's actually worth points. And at the end of the points or whatever, there's going to be some prizes. And Steel can feel free, I guess, to explain that a little bit further if he so chooses. Raffling a custom truck tonight. Well, that's pretty cool. But yeah, he's got Steelcrafter's got some pretty cool stuff going on over his channel. I guess for anybody that's we got Steam gift cards is one of the fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I know I'm still working on with Steel, I guess, a little bit off stream. I guess as far as on just develop even further, I guess, the trucks that he's potentially giving away there. Steel's the one doing all the schemes, the skins on the bodies, parts, whatever, as far as that goes. I've been dealing more with the 3D modeling of it, as far as just retexturing, potentially, hopefully coming up with a new body and or frame or whatever that's color changeable. Just kind of playing around with some different things that is still in development there, still in progress there. So whether or not that'll actually come to fruition, once I have something, I'll probably share that information with everybody, I guess, once that becomes available. But as for now, it's still in progress, so I just kind of reserve that, I guess, for a bit until I got something. I always like to showcase something that's kind of done. I don't like to give kind of jinx it, if you will, as far as to give too much hope, I guess, that, whoa, look at what's coming, and it's something bad happens to the point where I can't deliver. It's just it's not the way I like to do things. So once I do have something, I guess, that's feasible, I guess, to showcase there, I would definitely make that aware. I lost my train of thought now. Oh, I was going over as far as like what these logos, I guess, belong. That's when I look at the orientation of these. So I did not take out the TSD files, I guess, from the track edit folder as far as our unpack. So I just want to compare what's been done, I guess, with the texture next to needing to rename them is all. So I wanted to take a look at that. So if we go into our track folder, let's go to tracks, go to third party, and then Torches track build here. So I still have the original TSDs in here for those particular track logos. So for example, He's got this listed in here as far as which ones need to be removed, which happens to be right here. So one of the first ones here, we got TSD underscore DFC. So we're going to open that one up. Gosh darn it. I guess I navigated away from that. Son of a gun. Alright, so I guess it helps if I would have chose something. That's going to make me do it again. Alright then. Well, let's try that again. So we go to the track folder. So we got TSD underscore DFC. And I just wanted to compare the textures if they were the same or not. So you kind of humor myself. So we got a DFC Xfinity. Is that the one? Is that the proper name? So that would be this one here. Oh, Dash for Cash. I gotcha. So this one just says, yeah, DFC Xfinity. So this is one of them. This is one of the ones that need to be removed. And then the track logo, I don't know which one is which. As far as which one they replace, which is not a big deal. I just wondered which one here. So we'll probably take a look at all these here first and compare those track logos. So for example, track logo 1, I do have those all on the track. I have not been able to check these out yet to see how that was done. Other than the fact that you probably used a DAE model, you know, as far as of the track, you know, based on the track geometry. Alright, so where did I put all those? They should be in here. Oh, here they are. They're all up here. That's right. So they all been called track logo successively, like so. So that's. Wait a minute. Why didn't that open? Hello. All right, let's try that again. WinMap's being really, really finicky today. Really finicky. I almost feel like I probably got more than one instance of this open here, even though it's not saying that. So I want to be careful with that. Track logo 1. Cool. So this one's the monster logo. Alright. See if I can find the one that's the monster logo in here. I'm just making comparison. That's all I'm doing. Just kind of curious. And curiosity didn't kill the cat. So they got a TSD monster in here. So that's basically just the same thing. So the same texture has been used to apply it to the new track logos. It's just the fact that I need to remove the TSDs. We don't need that one that's named TSD whatever. So track logo 1 here is the TSD. That was the former, just the TSD by itself. So what we've done here now the other thing I wanted to take a look at is are these scripted, I guess, in such a fashion so that they only show during a race weekend, for example. That's the other thing I want to check out there. What have I got off my other end of my screen here? Hold on a second. Oh, that's the, never mind. Good deal. Alright, so this is all good information as far as to go back on. In fact, I've kind of gone back out of all the things that have been done up till now, as far as this is for up to date. Everything going all the way back to the end of August here, basically. You got all this information as far as what's been done to that. So there's a histogram here. There's definitely like a journal or a diary, I guess, as far as all the things that have been done. And you know, as you test things out here, you might say, okay, I know I put that in there. It's like, is that still working the way it's intended to? And if it's not, then you have something to fall back on to say, no, I'd rather put that back. So you have, that's always a good idea, I guess, to keep that. Once you got everything good to go, I guess as far as what what you're happy with and whatever, just, you know, you can feel free, I guess, to purge these items out there because you already have them in your track. But it makes a nice histogram here. So all these track logos to include, let's kind of pan around here, all these track logos here are now all in the form of a 3D model as opposed to a TSD. Now, we've shown before, you know, plenty of times as far as the benefit of being able to use a 3D model piece for that as opposed to a TSD, because as we know, when you use a TSD in a lot of cases, it doesn't conform because it's a very flat and rigid plane. That the TSD, it doesn't conform to any geometry. That's the number one purpose, I guess, for doing it in that fashion, so that it follows the contour of the geometry much better. But also to be able to script it in such a fashion, this was my suggestion as for last week, is to allow it to be able to be scripted so it only shows during certain particular sessions, or even through a population switch, for example. So these happen to be, let's go through that right now. We're going to check everything out there, because with it, a lot of the things that have been replaced and or added, the scripting, I want to check the scripting on it and see when they show, as far as like if you can turn it off in the population switch, or if they're visible during the race weekend and so on. So what we want to do is go to set states variable, and we'll leave it on weekend here first, and we'll put it to testing. Huge improvement already that I'm noticing as far as like the grandstands don't turn off during testing. You do see a lot of the haulers and such go away, I guess, as far during testing, and that's fairly normal. You only have usually safety vehicles and things like that during testing. So I'm not seeing any buildings that shouldn't be gone, I guess, as far as that goes. I remember this was one of them that was disappearing in testing. So that's looks like that's been corrected. Yeah, so we got some safety vehicles in here. We still got the garages are in here. Removing some of the haulers. We're still using a lot of shared items, I guess, for certain safety vehicles and stuff like that, and that's not a problem. Yeah, so we got Victory Lane is still here. So just checking the status. I know this wall here, I know that was one of the items here. This is all on 3D modeled wall on this this pit wall here. As far as for all the decals, that still remains there. That doesn't go away anymore as it used to. So we'll just continue to pan around here. So yeah, the fact that the grandstands are here, we still got the signages on the fence that remain on there. That's kind of cool. What else do we have in here? So as we go around here, we can still see all these logos on the pit wall are still here. Grandstands in this end of the track are still there. This is all in testing mode, just to kind of make a fair mention here. Let's speed this up just a little bit more. That's better. Yep, so we still have Safer still in here. Safety vehicles over here. You got the bridge is still here. The casino is obviously still there. Track condition lights obviously would still remain. Most all your walls of this press box over here on the backstretch. This bridge on the exit of turn 2. Got some barrels still there. Nice. Billboards are still up. Some great refinements here. And this is one of them that one of the items that had been in the previous stream there, because as far as to eliminate the complete 3D model here. So this is all using more transparency as far as an alpha channel on the textures, as opposed to making it just a 3D structure. And it still gives you that dimension, I guess, in as far as being a solid 3D structure. Alright, so this is in testing mode, and you can see those grass logos, as I was just showing before there, those two depopulated. They are not here during testing. So that's a pretty cool feature in there, because generally you wouldn't have those types of items showing here, I guess, during testing. Okay, so now we'll go through all these different states here. So we'll go in our qualifying happy hour, that mode during race weekend. So we got some items that do populate in here now, to include some haulers and campers and stuff like that. So they're kind of filling in as the race weekend starts. So this is during all the qualifying sessions and so on. So we don't have any people in stands yet, but we do have more vehicles. They got the Goodyear hauler. We have the Monster Energy, as far as the series hauler. NASCAR there. We got the was that something that did turn on? Yeah, so you got the video as far as the ICM Connect. Those do tend to populate here during that. Something else I do want to take a look at here while I'm in this here is the scoreboard here. We looked at that last week as far as to correct some fencing issues here. And that looks like that has now been corrected. It looked more like a corrugated metal and or sheet metal. So yeah, that looks like that's definitely been corrected here from last week. You think you need to rescript the fir trees as far as these trees out here? Yeah, so you got some shadows down here now. That's fantastic. That looks so much better. It gives it so much more depth there. So this is something that's new here. This is something I had suggested last week. Torch has taken the initiative to add some shadows here to the fir trees. And it gives it so much more definition there as far as, you know, to make it look like it belongs there. Just having something as simple as a shadow on that. But as far as the fir trees, do those still go away? Let me go back one step here. During testing here, I just want to take a look. So during testing, yeah, I can see some of those same vehicles go away. Yeah, so the fir trees are still there during that. So as far as that state there, that seems fine. No, the ones by Victory Lane. Okay, we'll go take a look at over there. No, there's plenty of fir trees. You know, it's like you kind of take some of these items here for granted in different states here because you don't really pay attention to it. But the fact that it gives that immersion factor as far as being actually at the track. What do we got going on here? What is this deal? So we got some... Is that a texturing issue here? On the back side of this? Yeah, so on this side here, as I'm panning around here, not sure if that's much of an issue there. It looks in... That might be. Right at that opening here in the pit wall. And so over by the Victory Lane he was mentioning here, there's some fir trees. So it must be these deals over here. So this is in testing mode. These actually don't look too bad here. If these are the trees you're talking about. Oh, they're not supposed to be there. The shadow by Victory Lane, but the tree is gone. Oh, this one right here you're saying. I gotcha. So this one here, you can see that there. So are they not supposed to be here during testing is what you're saying? Yeah, I can still see the shadow there. I think that's what you meant. Yeah, so the trees aren't usually there, I guess, during the testing mode. That's what you're trying to do. Oh, they should be there. Okay. So yeah, that would probably need to be scripted. So this is in testing mode. So that's a fair mention, I guess, as far as that goes. So let's go back into the next state up here. 5 different fir trees. Okay, I gotcha. So we'll go to this state. So if we go into, this is our practice qualifying mode. Just see that tree is not there. And if we go to race mode, that'll be the next step up here. So we're in full race mode here. So you got the blimp. This has been rescripted here. So it only shows during a race because previously Wingfoot was showing in all sessions to include testing. Thought that was kind of weird, so that's been adjusted so it only shows during a race. And oh, you got another. This sign populates in here, I guess, during the actual race there. I just noticed that too. That's kind of neat. And then that tree is there also. So yeah, so it looks like a little bit of a scripting issue, I guess, as far as this one tree. So you want that to be shown, I guess, in all sessions, basically. So it does go away during anything other than race, it looks like. But these banners, I noticed these populate in here, I believe. Let me go back one more step again. It's got. Now I'm kind of curious. Just kind of look at all these different things that do populate. So yeah, those go away. And anything other than race. That's pretty cool. Gives it a lot more depth there. As far as definitely to understand which race session you're in here. So when you're seeing all this business going on, you're definitely, it takes some of the confusion away. Oh, it's like, what race session are we in? Especially if you're not necessarily paying attention to the race weekend menu. You can definitely just take a look at the track and be like, oh, we must be in race mode because you've got all these particular items loaded in, populated in, to include the people. Already kill. So yeah, the fact that these do show only on race weekend. Let me keep it on this. I'm gonna go one step down again. And if we take a look here, those stay in here during practice and qualifying. So basically just any race weekend, these will remain, just not in testing. Pretty cool. That's a really neat feature with the track. This gives it a little bit of character, I guess, in that regard too. So the fact there is no logos, so the track is fairly bare, which is normal, I guess, for when you're running in a track and testing. Okay, and then if we go to population mode now, it's a population state switch. Let's check that out. Population. So we got to type this in, and it is case sensitive. You want to make sure you type it in the same way you would as far as like applying the script to it. So in this case, capital P. It really depends on how you've scripted it, as far as like in most cases, like I said, if you look at your script, you'll pay attention to the script, you'll notice that has that same, it'll be set in there the same way. I don't know why this particular song in the playlist, it always seems so loud. I'm turning it down just a tad. I feel like I'm talking over it. Anywho, so in population switch, actually before I do that, I want to put this back in race weekend 2, just to make sure everything is loaded in at start here. So make sure everything's loaded in first. Now we'll go to population switch, and we'll start off at 0 and just work our way up. Alright, so population, and we're going to go down to 0. Now, the first thing I take notice of is the infield still remains. That was something else I pointed out in the last couple of streams, as far as we want that to remain during that day. So the fact that that was going away, so the fact that it does now stay in the lowest setting here. So when you first press the O key in the sim, this is the state of it, as far as what goes away and what still remains. So we still have a lot of our grandstands, buildings on the infield here, to include such things like the starter stand. Okay, so this is all in. If you're in the sim, if you were to press the O key the first time, this is what would still remain. So this is the bulk of what. So what I notice is, like, a lot of the infield objects are gone. Those do go away. So just to give you a sense of what's going on here, we're coming up from the turn 3-4 end of the track. So far, everything looks okie dokie. Now, what is I want to check out that pit wall piece over here. Yeah. So other than this little anomaly here, I guess, as far as this opening here, that might be just something else that may need to be addressed. Yeah. So this still remains. Yeah, there's maybe a little bit of shading issue on the back side of this. That's kind of a giveaway there. You probably wouldn't notice this as much, but that can be corrected as well. As far as the texturing of that piece there. But as far as this way, you would never know. The only other giveaway to me for this being off, as far as it is this line. So whether or not there should be another line here, or the pit stall should be adjusted, that's not 100% sure. That's the only really dead giveaway to me, that there is a piece, potentially a piece there. But yeah, that was the only thing I wanted to look at. So this is not scripted. This remains as far as in the population switch, to include these items here, I guess, on this side, all the banners and so on the pit wall. I think that maintains or retains, I guess, a lot of the integrity of the track as far as, these are still solid pieces. We don't want those necessarily to go away. It comes a long way. Yep. CNMED. I don't usually do the Stream Raiders on Saturdays. I reserve that for playing on Fridays. So I apologize for not playing that today. I haven't had any plans, I guess, to do that today. But welcome on in anyway, nonetheless. As far as, yeah, this one here could necessarily be, I think that's what you were mentioning there, Torch, as far as being a light map, as far as the shadow map or whatever like that. The fact is you can't really apply that to a 3D model in the same way you can a geometric wall. You could still mimic that as far as in the texture. What type of texture do you got applied to this anyway? I'm just kind of curious. Let's pan that on this for now. So if you got, we're going to object view here real quick. Oddly enough, that's how they have it. The fence part. Yeah, let me look at here just really quick. So you've got object view. We're gonna find out here in a second. I know there's plenty of these items that have been replaced, but one way I can tell for sure is if I go into this. It's probably not gonna let me select it, is it? Too many other items in the way. That item was called pit wall piece, I believe it was. So if I can't get it from here, I can always select it through my items this way. So that's a pit wall outer. We don't want that one. So there should be a pit wall piece, which I think that's it. I got the right piece. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Jeez, oh Pete. I'm on the wrong. Jeez, oh man. I'm over there by Victory Lane. So there we go. So I was close, but no cigar. So there's our piece there. I just wanted to get what the name of that was. So the name of that, going through our properties, pit wall piece. Got some underscores in there. So what I want to do is look at what texture is applied to that. So let's go to our track edit and find pit wall piece. I'm taking a little bit of the long way, but this is one way just to kind of show if you're looking at items and you want to be able to, to edit it quickly. Obviously, if you've got the raw files, I guess for that makes it even easier. But this is just kind of my approach to it. If I was critiquing it, if I didn't have that information, I would. This is the approach I would take to it. Always helps, I guess, to be able to have that information readily available. All right, so pit wall piece. We got to look at our piece. So we got that name the same here, it looks like. But I'm just going to double check this in my notepad, seeing it does not have any state switches in it. All it is just the model itself and the texture, which is called pit wall piece. So we're going to open that up here just to kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So let's go into here. I don't need these anymore. I just wanted to compare those textures. I will need to pull those out from the track, obviously. I have not done that yet. Right. Yeah, so we narrowed that down. So let's open up pit wall piece. See what we got going on with that. Okay, so pit wall. Oops, I passed the P's. Probably staring right at it too. Pit garage. Come on out, where you at? There it is. And this is what we got for the texture for that. So this is the texture that's applied to that pit wall piece. So it does actually have the shading, also for basically all facades of that. So the fact that it doesn't show in here, we'll have to check this out in the sim itself to actually see how that looks, because you can tell even on the top here how it looks like it's got that funky shading here. That's another giveaway from the top. In the game, that'll necessarily blend in much better. So that's probably why we don't necessarily want to go by how it looks in here until we get into the game and actually check it out. Okay. But that's probably another giveaway, at least anyway, first when you look at it from this way, you can't even tell. That's what's kind of amazing. This is what you're going to see the most, actually. Once you get the war wagons in there and stuff like that, you're probably not going to see from this side as much as you will this side. And that's, to me, is the most important, but definitely getting that balance as far as using that snipping option of the taking a snippet of your geometric, how that looks from this view, and then being able to apply that to your model. So it looks like that's what's been done. So this is the layout of the texture again for that. Anyway, I wanted to see how that was, and it has a map of 3. Pretty neat. All right, we'll close that out. So yeah, other than needing to take out those particular TSD files, in fact, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll leave this open here so we can do that. I think that's about all I really need to go over as far as I already showed off the new infield lights. Those have been replaced. Those TSDs over there. Now we're still in population 0, so we still have these types of things that are still open. So just kind of continuing off, still showing off as far as like what still remains in population 0. So the first press of the O key in the sim. This is what still remains. So you have the victory lane sign, still this shadow. Now if the trees are supposed to remain, obviously that'll get fixed. I guess Torch should point it out. And then, so that's in that state. Let's bump it up one more state. So we'll go to population 1. So we do have some additional items that do populate in here. Under population, so this is with some items. So you do get additional items pop in here, like the victory lane. You do get some more items in the infield. Start to show, like the infield haulers. The only thing I notice is not in here is you got some of the campers in this area. So once I go to full population, third press of the O key in the simulation itself. Let's check that out. Before I do that, and just thinking all these new things that are still applied to the check. So population switch and these. So yep, those still remain over here, as well as the infield lights. The new infield lights. Just kind of paying more attention, I guess, to some of the things that should remain. Yep, so those pit lights there. So cool. And if we go to full-on population, we've got everything loaded. Third press of the O key in the simulation. You now have everything loaded. So now you can see all the campers. Now, to me, this is a really nice balance, I guess, as far as, still having that ability to be able to turn some things off. If it either is a distraction for the end user, or if you having issues, I guess, with frame rates, as far as if you're running on next to a potato, I guess, as far as a PC, and you want to be able to scale back some of those items that are loaded in, to be able to gain some frame rates back. So regardless, I guess, of whichever reason, I guess, you might find it necessary to have to turn some of these items off. Those are two of the primary reasons. So for some people, it is just a distraction to have all the items in there. Some people like to have all that immersion factor, so it gives a little bit of versatility, I guess, in the end user to say, do I want all these items on or don't I? As well as to be able to gain frame rates if you're having those types of issues too. And the other thing I pay attention as I do pan around in all these different levels, I don't get hardly any stutter or lag or any type of frame rate drops. It's very smooth. Everything loads in very optimally. And that's huge. When it comes to this amount of detail that we have in the track, that is a key point, I guess, as far as to have the optimization in it. So it doesn't seem to matter where I go. At this point here, it does not stutter or lag or have a huge drop in frame rates. Now, has there been any adjustments to the wall? Let's take a look at that. I don't think there was any mention in the items there, I guess, as far as that goes. I can already see there's probably been some adjustment to this to to this wall. As I recall, if we go back, I'm just recalling from memory, right over here by the Monster Energy deal, right in front of the Jags here, we did had a lot of the foam was still showing. So yeah, we'll be monitoring that, observing that in the sim itself to see how much better that is. I can already tell from here it's already better. That already looks 100% better. And there will be some flex, for lack of a better way to put it, as far as when you go into the sim itself, as far as the way geometric walls and such will get rendered in. So definitely, just like your pit wall piece over there, you definitely don't want to go by what you're seeing in Sandbox. So I want to check it in the sim itself to actually see how it presents itself. Yeah, but from what I can see here already, this is already a 100% better improvement. Is this a wrong strip on here? That might be a potential issue there, as far as there's a black top line here, I guess, on this wall. That seems to be out of place. I don't know if there's supposed to be a logo there. That strip does not need to be at the top. So that's the only two issues I see so far, as as that anomaly over there by that pit wall opening over there on the fence. And then this here so far. Not a big issue, but it's like it could be something that may necessarily need to be addressed. I think I did notice there was a new shadow here for the bridges, if I remember correctly. Let's look at the new items. I believe there was something, maybe I overlooked that. You got the first shadow, tree shadow, victory lane. I thought I had seen something in here, I guess, as far as related to the bridge. And maybe I was just seeing some stuff, but is that shadow still the same? So you have to check. I think a logo went AWOL when I fixed it. Okay. So there is a new. Okay, I thought I saw one. Let's see here. I thought it was actually called Bridge Shadow or something like that. Yeah, here it is. TSD Bridge Shadow. So you did it as a TSD. You named it a TSD Bridge Shadow. In fact, let me take a look at that in TSD Bridge Shadows. That's a new item. So instead of using an actual 3D model piece like your grass logos, this is what I want to take a look at here anyway. So we've got TSD Bridge Shadow. So let's look here. This one right here. So we're going to open this up in. Let's see what this looks like. WinMip 2 is being a pain in the butt today. Okay, I see how you are. Keeps like opening several instances of it. It's really bugging me. Alright, so TSD Bridge Shadow. Let's try that again. Why you make me do this? Lots of logos in here. Just got focus. Where is it at? This one here, I pretty much know this can come out. I know there's probably still some items that need to come out of here that aren't applied to the PTF. This one I can 100% probably assume that it does need to come out. This is, I remember if this is from the SRA build, they use this in the league stuff here, so I'm pretty sure this probably isn't applied. So that's probably just one item I come across as I look through this stuff here that it doesn't need to be in there. There's probably other items in here that doesn't need to be in here as well. Where the heck did that? There's that bridge shadow. So there's our bridge shadow. That's kind of crazy. I see how you did that now. So this is actually, that's interesting. You might have to explain that a little bit as far as how you've done this. That's obviously not a part of ambient occlusion. And that's maybe if you did do that. What I find impressive as far as the fact that you've got the magenta behind it without any of that bleed, I guess, on the that shows up in the texture. So I assume that is on this here. Is that this shadow right here? Or is that the other bridge? I'm assuming it's this bridge right here. So if that's this bridge here, the fact that there's no magenta bleed on that is all. I mean, that's a hard feat sometimes, I guess, to be able to not have that magenta bleed in a texture like that. Took a pic of the actual bridge. So it's on both bridges. Okay, I got you. So they both generally have the same layout there. Now you can definitely see, you know, as far as the way that shadow is cast on there, the way it continues over on the other side of the wall here. I mean, there's actually absolutely no break in this at all. Because as far as there could be some shadowing, probably on the wall itself. I see there's some right here, but I mean there might be some more adjustment I guess to make here to make it so that it's nice one solid piece as far as that shadow going all the way across to include the walls. There is some here. This is even pretty cool right over here. So the further away the bridge gets from the wall, that actually looks pretty legit. Yeah, so we can check out the other bridge too. But yeah, the main thing I guess out of that, creating that as a TSD, is that lack of magenta bleed in this thing. And regardless of what distance you look at this at, that's usually pretty tough to come by as far as to eliminate that potential magenta bleed in textures like that without having to use a TI. So that's pretty good. We're going to check out this other bridge. There was but the start line thing again. What about the start line? Yeah, so here's this is applied over here too. So this is the same one as far as the bridge shadow. That's used over here as well. It's just used in a different orientation over here. That's pretty impressive. Look at that. And once again, you can see that it fits in there pretty good. It looks, that definitely looks pretty legit. Yeah, so other than the shading on the wall itself, that's the only thing that kind of takes away from the actual shadow there. That can be done in the form of a light mag. You got somewhat of one here. It might be necessary, I guess, if you really want to be able to, you know, get the full immersion factor of getting that applied to the wall. You might have to create an applique of sorts, I guess, to these wall facets. Still keep the geometric wall, but just put a facet of a 3D model over that so you can get that shadowing in there correctly, as opposed to just trying to, we know how terrible it is to work with light maps, you know, shadow maps, I guess, as far as that are on the walls. Those are just a pain sometimes. I mean, you can do it that way too, but it's as far as to get the proper texture size and skewing in it and whatever like that to make it, you know, just perfect. That's a lot of headache, in my opinion there. For me, I would probably take the approach of, if you've got the 3D model of the actual track, chunk out these areas, whatever, to make it, you know, with a transparency, so you can apply that same shadow texturing, I guess, to the walls, and actually put that as an applique to that geometric wall, to include the safer as well as the concrete wall. Shadows on the trees. Yeah, I think I already went by that too. Oh, you're talking about these? Yeah, these trees here. That was something. Yeah, so these trees here as well. Yep. I think it just adds so much more definition to that, as far as it gives it a little bit more depth. These could probably be refined just a little bit more, just in my own opinion. Not to criticize it at all, but it's just I think it could probably add a little bit more, so you got a little bit more underneath it, type of thing. So either to apply that to what do these textures look like anyway? I'm just kind of curious now. So these are in the form of TSDs. Let's take a look here. So if we go over here by these trees, I think that's a huge improvement. I'm not denying that at all. But let's go to, are we in TSD mode? We are not. So we're in object mode. Let's go to TSD. And then the name of this deal, and that's a new texture. Whoopsie. Let's go go to our properties, and that is named TSD Fur Shadow. So let's go ahead and open that up in our WinMap 2 and see what that looks like. TSD Fur Shadow. That is right here. So let's take a look at that. So this is what that looks like. And again, you're using that magenta background as opposed to using a TI. So that's keeping the overall size of that file small enough, but I think you could probably make this a little bit bigger. As far as, I believe this is a 128 by 128, if I had to guess there. It's definitely smaller than 256 looks like. But you could probably even go a little bit bigger to add a little bit more to this, to the bottom here, so you have some more shadowing underneath the tree, so that it looks like it's more stretched out, because it's kind of like an abrupt end here. Now these fir trees, those actually look pretty darn good. I like the way these look very much. I mean, that's definitely how a shadow would necessarily appear, especially if the sun was coming from this direction. And that's the majority of the way you got most of your shadows going, is like the sun's coming from this direction, from the turn 3-4 end here. Yeah, so if you look at any of these other shadows that are applied here, you would get that same effect. See, there's probably some other trees here you could probably do the same thing. Like if you wanted to put a shadow on this building, that would give it some more. I mean, that's whether you do or not on that one narrowed, but it would add so much more to it as well. That's just a kind of an afterthought, or even that could be done too, much the same way, as far as either on the ground or even on the building itself there. Getting into the real fine-tuning stuff here now, really. I didn't look at this turn 3-4 end as far as the foam. So we looked at the 1-2 side. Yeah, so we can definitely see how these have been adjusted. It's a definite improvement. We'll definitely be taking a look at it in the sim itself too, so don't worry about that. Yep. So it looks like these have been. So I don't see any of the foam sticking out where it shouldn't be. Very good. Yeah, so we started all the way from, let's go from turn 3. Let's take a look at this here real quick. And now in some spots here, it's going to probably appear to, I guess, to be a little bit taller than it should be. We'll check it out in the sim to see, because like I was mentioning here, you only want this this one here, I guess, to be no taller, I guess, than just barely above this this foam in most cases here. But you don't always want to go by what's in here. So if you've looked at it in the sim, and you get that result, then that's where you're good as far as the height of your walls. I'm still seeing some excessive, you know, you got the double lines here as far as the seams here on the top facet there. Just another observation. I think I pointed that out last week as well. That can easily be adjusted just by either some skewing or what have you, but pretty much anywhere where I see a logo, you're getting this double effect, I guess, as far as the top seam on the safer wall. Easily corrected just by adjusting that skew on that. In most cases, you're if you're texturing for your facet, as far as where your logo's at, it's going to be the same for your top. So as long as that's applied the same way, then you should be assured that the seams for the top are going to line up. That's pretty cool there. Yep, so definite improvements here I'm seeing so far. As far as the foam not protruding, I guess, past the geometric walls. So these are still two geometric walls. You got the safer is geometric and the concrete is geometric. The only thing that is modeled is the foam. So that's the marrying of the two types of be the geometric and the 3D model to give you that effect that it is all one piece. You know, as far as to make it look all like a solid deal. It doesn't. Neither one of them looks either geometric and or model. And that's kind of what you're going for when you put these things together. So yeah, everything's looking good. We already tested out the restart zone as far as last week, and that came out pretty decent as far as what we had it set at. It's looking good though. Yep, so got the other current track condition light. So we are in, everything is loaded. We're in full race weekend, and population switch is all the way maximum. So we're all good to go. So we've got to see some new shadows, new items applied, like their shadows to the bridge, as well as some of the trees. Definite improvement. Definite improvement. Maybe it was just a little bit more tweaking, I guess, on certain things like that. That would definitely make it look just that much better. So yeah, definite step in the right direction here, I guess, as far as with the optimizations, as well as just the overall aesthetics to the track. You want the track to be very refined? Well, I don't know how much more refined you can get it, but I mean, it's pretty doggone good. Get the major updated, yes. So as far as those fine-tuning stuff, so as far as the major stuff to this point here, I think you got those pretty much handled. We addressed such things as needing to adjust that lead segment. We've already tested that out to come to that conclusion that that's a definite one of the major things. Some of the skewing of different things, a lot of things have been addressed here that I think that have all been tackled. I think with like you said, as far as adjusting that lead segment, there's a lot of the logos will get shifted because of the D-longs and D-lats. That's just the nature of the beast there when it comes to when you're adjusting those types of things. So the fact that we have, that's the only one that I noticed as far as just on the turn 2 side here. I don't even think I saw anything else as far as going around there. In fact, we can go through turns 3 and 4 again. That's the only one I noticed as far as where that logo should probably either be, or that top logo on the wall there. Other than these seams, these double seams that exist here, that's probably the only other minor thing that would need to be addressed. Just to kind of take it, because it's very noticeable to me as far as like, especially where before and after, I guess you see a logo on the wall. You see that double seam, I guess, for that top piece there. But yeah, as far as over on this end, I don't see any places where there should be a logo and or just a miscue, I guess, in any of that, like you do on that turn 2 that I was showing there. Everything here looks good. So you got the turn 3 here. Somewhat the approach that I take with, if you get into an area to where you have a logo and you get like a duplication of the seam, like for example right here, that looks like there's a duplication there of that seam that there, but you don't actually have a seam on this part. In some cases, what you can do is sometimes what it comes down to is to create a secondary for the top facet here anyway of the geometric wall, is just create a separate texture that has no line. Just create one that has no line. And that's easy to take that out there because it's usually on the very tail end, either the head or tail of that texture. Just take it out completely and don't put a line, because that way it kind of takes away from. So you can do one of two ways to do it, that way or just actually create another line. But what you don't want to do is disrupt the spacing of the actual safer sections. So they are usually only 8 foot in length. So if you have one here, there should be another one roughly. In fact, now that I look at this, there probably should be a seam right there, because they're generally 8 foot in length here. So you should have one here, and there probably should be a seam right there. So what's missing in this logo is having a seam, for example. So you want to look at that too, I guess, as far as, and that's just really fine-tuning stuff. It's nothing that really takes, it doesn't hurt the actual function of the track, but as far as just to take care of the details of it. But anywhere that you don't need to have a seam on here, like I said, you can always create a secondary top facet texture, whatever, that has no line. And that not only where a logo is, but also in areas that doesn't have a logo. Just to kind of eliminate all that, having to skew it differently, I guess, as far as in different areas anyway. Right. The colors of, yeah, and that'll happen too. But see, that's probably what you want to do. It's very hard to see If there's a seam there, it's very hard to see. So you probably want to make it so that it matches so going back to this logo, so you can see it there, but it should probably be a little bit more noticeable, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. So you it just needs to be balanced between how it is on this side, or go by this and make it more white. Just so it's balanced, because the way that looks there, you can't really see it. It just looks like that totally sticks out as far as like, should there be a seam there or not? Now, if I look at it from this way, and if you know the dynamics as far as how the safer wall works, you would definitely see, yeah, there should be a seam there. Because that would be an 8-foot section right there. But, yeah, that's just that fine-tuning anyway. And there's ways around that to be able to remedy that. So the same thing goes here. You've got this here, this should be a seam. So you got it on the top wall, but not on this one. If there is one there, it's very unnoticeable. That type of thing. So whether or not you just make this a little bit more faint as opposed to so defined, or actually adopt, I guess, this so that it actually is, you can see a seam all the way through there in much the same fashion as it does on the top. So for darker logos like that, that's definitely going to cause an issue there. It's going to be a lot more noticeable. Yeah. So again, just the double seam here. This one here, and I know that that's a common problem there. So like I said, a lot of cases what you can do to remedy that, as far as when it's in between logos like that, double check your skewing, number one, to see if it is set exactly the same as your facet here. Then sometimes what you might have to do is put a no line, and by no line you wouldn't have a seam on the top, but it'll still have it on the side there. Sometimes that's just the way it works. There's plenty of the safer barrier tracks that did that way, just to kind of eliminate, because to try and line up the skewing, I guess, on the top with the side, otherwise you would have to adjust the skewing for every single facet of wall here with the safer the same as your logos. So in an effort to try to take advantage of just keeping it at a standard, 2, for example, on on 1 on the top, and then 2, a texture size of 2 on the U, as far as for the actual safer, to take advantage of that to anywhere where there's no logo. That's just one way you'd have to go about it. So sometimes you have to put a no line. Otherwise, like I said, you would have to put all your textures that are in a segment of a track the same, to include the walls that have no texture. That's a lot of work to do that, I guess, is first. Trust me, I've done it enough times. So yeah, same thing over here as far as that seam. So it looks like a lot of your top could necessarily just be adjusted so that it's not quite so definitive here. So if there is actually a seam here that's very faint, you could probably faint this one as well, just to give it that, or just again, just either way, as far as like just either make that definitive on this side as well as the top, or just tone the top down. This is really fine-tuning stuff, I guess, at this point. It's nothing very critical. It's just working out the details like that is all. That's pretty cool. Yeah, same thing with this one here. So most of your dark ones in here, you'll run into that problem with a lot of dark logos that you have on your walls is all. Very common issue, I guess, with that. Okay. Yeah, so really no issues on the turn 3-4 side anyway. That was the other point. So even your restart zone, that seems to line up really good. Really, not too much of issues there. So there you go. All these logos here on the inside wall, you guys a lot of them on here. They usually do on these bigger tracks like that, as far as having a lot of advertising and such for different. You got the different series logos. You got Monster Energy, obviously the Dover 50. I'm just taking it all in here. First, I think you're pretty much to the point where it's just a lot of fine tuning is all. Lots and lots of fine tuning. And I think I had mentioned this before too, and I'll probably say this again. You've got this little piece in here for the strap, which I think is fantastic. But another thing that could be done as far as taking advantage of put in a 3D model piece on the very end of the safer to get rid of this flat texture. So by putting that onto, make a 3D model piece, and just even if it's just a small sliver on here, just to kind of cap this end off here to put these. This has been used quite a bit as far as so depending on which direction you look at this at, it's gonna look a little bit funky. I mean, this doesn't look too bad, but depending on how you look at it, it's gonna look off. And my approach to it, you would actually, model a piece or whatever that actually has the 5 rows, the 8-inch pieces here, and actually make it a 3D model and to cap that off and texture it as a 3D model piece, just like you would your pit wall piece. I think that would look. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just saying I think it's cool that you got the strap in here to really cap off this end here. That really adds a lot to this, because we do see those quite a bit. I know that, especially when you've got these wall openings like that are facing away the direction of the way the cars go on the track. I think we even see that as well. If we go to the back stretch here, we can notice that happening over there too. Not so sure if you got one there, but there, yeah, the fact that the barrels are here, do these bleed into that? Oh, I see what you had to do that. I would probably move these away a little bit. You got these blending into the geometric wall. Yeah, see, there's no strap on this one here, but they would have one here, as well as definitely facing away like this down here. I think I noticed that last week too, as far as all these here. These have these ones with the foot on it. Okay. No, I think these are pretty cool too. We don't see this. You see this more and more often, and I'm still in the process of refining my own version of this one here for the Iowa Speedway. It probably more than likely the approach of mine, because it's going to be more of on a banked section there. I would go something without a foot, so that it's just and then whether or not if you wanted to put another piece behind that or whatever, it would be a lot of foam pieces, right? Because it's on a bank as opposed to being more flat, I guess, the way these are. So that's still something I'm really playing around with. Now, I noticed on this one here, this is kind of a really good example of how these seams line up here. So the fact that this one's more white, but you can still see that seam, that's the only point that I was trying to make on that other darker logo. You can still see that seam there. It's more definitive on this one here, and I think that looks... This is a pretty good example of a darker next to darker logo, to where you can still see there's a seam here, where one part of the seam doesn't stand out more than the other. What's going on with this down on the bottom here? Is that the texture, or is that a... What's underneath that? Is that an F section? That's kind of bleeding out here. I noticed in this white line right here. It's just in that one. Oh, I guess it is further down here, so it might just need to get tucked in maybe. Let's see what we got there. Let's pan over to that and see what's going on. Like the other ones they have, they don't all have a foot, right? On those safer foams. So we'll look at that here real quick. Where am I at? Gotta go over here. So a lot of this here is really just fine tuning, as far as some of the shading or whatever that's on, as far as that suggestion on the actual wall, the bridges and such like that. It's just really fine tuned stuff. Where was that at? That was right over here. Okay, so that's that concrete. So it probably needs to be tucked in a little bit more, possibly, so it's not sticking out quite as much. Very minor type of thing there, but yeah, it looks like that just needs to get tucked in, like so. You're trying to probably maintain, I guess, the same distance all the way through this here, but that could probably be tucked in pretty easily without it causing too much of an issue. Yeah, so that way that's not sticking out there. Yeah, I don't think that would be too much of an issue. That looks pretty good like that. Yeah, so just some really minor issues. Really super duper minor issues. Nothing really that major. I think all the optimization in the buildings, as far as your state switches to the objects, as far as when they turn off and on and when they show, you pointed out, I guess, as far as some of the scripting for some of the trees by the victory lane. So that's, again, just a minor thing. That's very easy to fix. But other than that, it's a pretty solid piece here. I'm just gonna we're gonna go ahead and go through the motions of I gotta take out those items for the TSD logo, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this track out. I'm not gonna save it. Any changes that we made there, I'm gonna close this out. And I still need to remove. That's why I left this open. I gotta remove these items. I did take out the poles, so I do have some items removed, but I just overlooked these is all. I figured I'd save that, I guess, for stream anyway. So I got a folder in here for removed items. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and remove these items here. Alright, so we need to remove, so that's why I close the track out. TSD, DFC, I'm gonna put this, I'll have to go back and forth to this here. Normally I would put this on my other monitor and I can look at the other monitor, and on my other monitor I would be able to, have the track edit. So I'm gonna try to show this all on the same screen as much as I can. Alright, so we're gonna go into the track, unpack here, and grab these items here. So we got TSD, DFC, Xfinity. They're all going to be TSD something or other. So TSD Gander, for example. I'm just going to compare these. So Gander, Jags monitor. And I want to take all of them that are TSD. So I'll take this one, truck. That one probably needs to stay. I know this can come out, but I'll leave that out too. I'm pretty sure that doesn't need it. I'm going to pull that out just to kind of prove a point there. I'm pretty sure that's not used though. Paint lines, we want to leave those in. Okay, shadow, I think that's it. So how many should we have in total? So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. I'll have 8 because I'm going to include that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing some here. What am I missing? TSD Foundation, okay. TSD FS1. Okay, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items. Yeah, I'll have 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, because I'm grabbing that TSD hotline. I'm almost 100% positive we don't need that, so just to prove a point. There's probably still some items that need to be taken out of this. Alright, so we're going to put these right in this removed folder. And then what we'll do to confirm that the track still loads with those items removed, per these notes, go ahead and check that out. So we'll open up the track, double click on it. And it doesn't load, so let me see what. So maybe that hotline is being used. It is telling me Petty Bridge Studio. What the frick? What happened there? Nope, take that back. I had it load in there, so it's not giving me any clue. So maybe that hotline is used. I'll put that back in there. It might have made a liar out of me. So that hotline. Now I know. They used that particular TSD in the SRA build, so that's the only reason why I suggest that probably doesn't need to be there. I'm gonna put that back in, and we'll try it again. So if it is applied to the actual PTF, that would be the reason why we got the could not load. All right, so the track does load, so it is in there somewhere. As far as that TSD hotline. Normally they would use that on the pit road, so I don't know if that's used in the same spot. I didn't notice it in there, and that's the only reason why I questioned it. Okay. So normally where they would put that, as far as for the SRA tracks, would be here on pit road. So I just want to observe here. Is that still in here? That would usually be like at the pit. Or is it this piece here? That's probably where you're using that hotline right there. Okay. And if that's the case, then that's fair. That would be fair. I was going to double check this here real quick. I'm just curious. So if we go to TSD view, track surface decal, and that is where it's used. Okay. Pretty straightforward, I guess, in that. So you've made another purpose, I guess, for that line anyway. There we go. And I'm only going with that by memory, number one, but also I had seen that here, so I figured that might be the next best place that's probably used. Right. So they don't put a cone there, so that's what so the fact that it's called hotline, that's what just struck me as far as like, because I know that's what they had wanted to use, I guess, in the SRA builds. But the fact that you repurposed it, I guess, use it for that. That's pretty good repurpose of that. Okay. I don't know about you folks, but I'm ready to get this thing buttoned up. We'll get it all repacked up into a DAT file. And we're going to try this bad boy in the simulation itself. So that we've come to the conclusion that everything is in here that we need to have. We're going to close this out. Oh, gotcha. That's why you call it the hotline. Yeah, they had a different purpose in the SRA builds. You know, when we were building them for the SRA, they used that as a means for if you were going. You had a little bit of a buffer. So if you were going above speed limit beyond that line that was on pit road, they would use that as a guide as far as watching a replay, because it kind of stood out there because it was orange. So as far as if you were at or beyond that that hotline, as far as that was a painted line that stretched all the way across the width of the pit road, from the time you came in to the time you hit that, if you were within a certain speed limit in that, as far as to correct your speed coming on a pit road, then you were, that's how they judge as far as whether or not you were speeding on pit road. As far as judging if you clearing a black flag, that's usually happened post race, so that was just a tool that they used, I guess, as far as to judge if that person should have got a cleared black flag or not. And if it was a pretty severe penalty too, if they came to find post race that you should have gotten the black flag and served it because you were actually speeding, based on that, having that in there as a telltale. A way to measure it was a pretty hefty penalty. You usually end up losing quite a bit of points, and in most cases it's almost like you didn't participate at all. Yeah, they used I remember they were pretty strict, I guess, as far as like they pretty much made it pertinent, I guess, for people that did get a black flag. It's as we come to know, we know this, as far as the exploit that does exist for Enter 2003, it's very black flag heavy, especially when you're racing online. And by that means that you can get erroneous black flags, but if you build the track, I guess, the way it's intended to, the way it's supposed to be built, those types of issues don't really exist, right? So when a track is kind of built helter-skelter, as far as in a really haphazard type of way, to not, take into account, I guess, as far as, buffer zones and things like that, there's really no excuse for any driver, if the track is built correctly, to really say, no, I got a black flag for no reason. Unless you got punted into the pits or whatever, and, just using an example, if you got punted by another driver into the pits there that made you speed, that's different. That's good reason, I guess, to not get a black flag. But if you're by yourself, there's no reason, I guess, to blame the game to say, well, it gave me a black flag for no reason. No, that's 100% untrue. Especially when you build the track correctly. I guess that's So there's really no excuse, I guess, for drivers to be able to say, well, it gave me a black flag. So when you're running in a race and you don't have time to review in a lot of cases, as far as, especially if you're an admin that's running in the race, this is the constant problem that they always ran into where, well, we don't have time to run it. We're gonna clear a black flag, but if we review it post race and we come to find that you should have served that black flag, it was a pretty hefty fine. And that tool in there, as far as that hotline on pit road, was one of those tools that they use. I guess to kind of determine that. It's pretty neat. It was pretty sad in a way that it had to be done just to kind of punish drivers, I guess, for saying, I need my black flag clear. And it's like, no, you don't. You did something wrong, so you need to serve it. Especially if those that were involved, I guess, with the build of the track know that the track was built soundly. So that's kind of like my little bit of a soapbox. Good times, I guess, as far as creating some of those tracks, I guess, for. And even still to this day, I come to find that there's drivers that will complain about how they get erroneous black flags in there. It's just like, there's really no, in my opinion, there is no reason to get a black flag other than the fact that you did something wrong. As far as I'm concerned, the dynamics and the mechanics that exist in the game, as far as issuing a black flag properly, if everything is built the way it should be, there is no erroneous black flags. You get a black flag, you did something wrong. And just like, and I'll kind of, hint on, I guess, as far as the black flags that I was getting as far as coming into pit road, after all these tests that I'm doing. Granted, I'm not really paying attention, because I'm, just critiquing the track as I'm playing, driving around and so on. It's very easy to be able to even go a mile an hour over the speed limit, for example. So if your spotter's coming in and telling you if all those types of things are in place the way they should be, and again, everything's built the way it should be, there's no reason for the black flag not to be served appropriately. If you cross over going in. So Dale says they need to be recalibrated. What needs to be recalibrated? Oh, I just had to stream burp there a little bit. Let me refresh this here. Let me refresh. Yeah, stream did burp, so you might need to refresh. Just kind of let everybody know. I know usually when the stream does hiccup there, I notice the audio still come through, but it's just the video that usually goes bonkers. So I'll give it a minute. For anybody that's still out there, you feel free, I guess, to spam an emote or type something in chat just to kind of let me know that everything's still solid. So the way they calibrate speed and oh yeah, you talking about the spotter as far as like, yeah, that was his 2010 rant. If you remember the spotter pack, I guess, that I usually use in the sim there. The way they've got the calibration, I guess, for how they gauge pit road speed, it's in my opinion top of the line in NASCAR. Now, as far as the way it's done in Inter 2003, it's still old school. We don't have all those timing marks and all that stuff. That's something I didn't actually look at. Now I think of that too. Are there any timing lines on the pit road? I should probably look at that, I guess, before I pack this up here. I'm just kind of curious, because that's something that they do have in reality on the track. As far as the drivers will use those lines, I guess, as a means in at the same time with the lighting that's on their talk. As far as it turns, they'll calibrate your talk. They still have those lines that are on pit road to actually give them a sense of, did I hit this line faster than I did the last, for example, to kind of gauge how fast they're going on the track. Yeah, so let me look at that real quick, I guess, before I... So if that is something that still needs to be applied to the track... No, you do have those. Yeah, so these timing lines right here, these are in reality, and the drivers will use these lines, right? Because these are set at certain intervals. So it's like if they hit this line, as they're trying to find their pit stall, if they hit it faster than the next line, they're kind of counting themselves and also looking at their talk to see, okay, in this scoring zone, Yeah, so this is basically where NASCAR will put the scoring lines, as far as where they score a particular driver as far as on pit road or on the track. These will go all the way across the track, as far as timing lines, as far as like a laser or whatever it is they use, that'll actually track, which scoring loop did the driver pass last to determine where they should be position-wise. So those are still 100% used. So yeah, the fact that those are in there, 100%. So that's somewhat old school, as far as having a painted line down, but that coincides with the digital technology or the laser technology that they have for scoring loops around the track. Yep, so those are all in there. I just wanted to kind of justify it. All right, so now we've got the track unpack here as far as down here. What I did was I pulled out the backup for that PTF here. So just to ensure, so once we test it out in the sim and we can confirm it all loads and everything is working like it's supposed to or intended to in the sim, we won't need this anymore. We do have the backup for from the previous week, so you always have that to fall back on. You would generally probably have, in most cases, have a PTF folder for your track build. So just like as for mine, this one I don't, 'cause this is Torch's build here, but for like any other build that you'll have a PTF folder with all your PTFs, based on that, so you have something to fall back on. And especially, as I've mentioned before, it's a little bit of a summary. If you kind of put in a little notation, because as far as what's going on with that PTF, you'll have an idea as far as what needs to be in the track folder for that PTF to load. So that's just one example anyway. But for this one, we are definitely right where we need to be, because as far as everything that's applied to this PTF, to include the track mat items, we're assuming we don't need to take anything out of here. We haven't really touched the track mat as far as that goes. Everything that we've done as far as updates to the track, it's been all either 3D models as far as the 3DOs and or just the MIPS in the main folder. So nothing really needed to be touched in the track mat folder so far. So if we're satisfied with where that's at, we'll hit our make dat, and it creates our new dat file based on the name of our folder. And it packs everything out less the actual make dat utility itself. So you want to make sure you don't have anything in here that's garbage, because if you have an additional PTF in here that doesn't belong, as far as that's not in conjunction, I guess, with what you want to load in the track, make sure it's out of there. That's why I purged that out before I load it, because it will pack that up into the dat file. And you may run the potential, I guess, of getting could not load or something like that. So in our actual tracks folder for the simulation, I got this all set up. I got this one backed up from last week. We tested that out, and that worked just lovely. This is our new dat, as well as our new track INI that Torches has applied us, I guess, with the changes to the pit stalls. So I want to look at that as far as to qualify in different positions to be able to see how the pit stalls actually line up. Okay. Particularly, I guess, on the last pit stall. So I'll probably qualify last when we initially try it out, so I can do the full pace lap, as well as to see where that pit stall actually, that orientation, I guess, on that last stall actually shows. Yes, the new LPs are already been added. I should have probably mentioned that. Yes. So I did add the new LPs previously. The only thing I did save was just the creating the new DAT file. So yeah, thanks for getting my attention on that. I have already replied the new LPs. That was something I did ahead of time. The only thing I did save was just creating the new DAT file. And that was just to go through that same process as a summary. Once we checked everything out in here, as far as in the sandbox, to create that DAT file. So we got the updated track INI. I backed that up. The only thing I did not do was back up the LPs, because I did those LPs in a previous stream, just to kind of show the process of it. So I was going to go by 100% what you did. And those LPs, just for reference here, are right here. And I did apply those already previously. Yeah, appreciate you keeping me honest there, though, Torch, as far as making sure everything is in the track that it needs to be. So at this point here, we do have everything that we need. These are going to be backed up. These will not be read by the sim when we go into the track. And all of our new files, to include the LPs, the DAT, and the new updated INI, is all good to go. Yeah, I did notice that, I guess, as far as all the updated items here. So you can see there's a limp. You got your min and max panic, and then all your pit. You know, as far as your min, max, and do we have a pit LP? Yeah, I think it was really the pit LP was fine. I do remember saying that it was just the max and the min pit that need to be adjusted, and that was the pit 0. We only got the one pit road. So in most cases, for tracks that only have the one pit road, it's going to be the pit 0. You won't need the pit 1. So if you have more than one pit road, for example, or if you have like a dual-sided type of pit road, that would be the only reason you would have a pit 1 LPs. In this case, we only have just the one set, so that's hence the pit 0. So the max and min pit have been updated in this case here. So now I just want to make sure I've got the wheel all set up to be able to go into this bad boy. Okay, I'm gonna get the wheel over here for just a second, so I'm gonna mute the mic just to get this over here, so just to remove any clutter or clatter, I guess, as I bring the wheel on over. So I'll be just a second. Alright, rather painless there. So the other thing I want to do here, sometimes I forget to do that. I want to switch this over, I guess, to the wheel overlay. Let's see here. Where's that at anyway? There it is. Gotta make sure I got it highlighted. So turn that one on. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the mouse one. I got them both side by side, but we don't really need the mouse one, honestly. So another thing I'll do, I'm gonna get this thing loaded up, number 1. A lot of times what it'll usually do here, see, it didn't make me do it that time. A lot of times it'll make me hit that twice. In this case, it seems to be loading up right away. There we go. So we're gonna try this out with the updated 2003 original 2003 cut mod that came with the sim when it was initially released there by Splash and Go. Much more refined model as far as, you know, just the mapping of it in comparison, I guess, to the original model. And that's all Splash and Go really did, I guess, with the likes of Cosmin over at, and those folks, I guess, over there. They just refined as far as how the car bodies got painted, as well as some other fine-tuning things. And they kind of kept it in good taste, I guess, as far as what Papyrus necessarily would have done if they were still going, you know, as far as to refine this mod. I think it's a fantastic mod. The fact that the actual manufacturers, if they had the licensing and all that stuff, have been applied to like the beer cars and things like that. Just a fantastic mod. So we're going to go into testing mode here initially on the Dover track. Okay, so we're going to load it up this way and ensure that it loads this way. Make sure we don't get any crashes. Let me get right to load screen there. Perfect. And we're running the Fred Jones car. I never did look at this one here too. Is this intended, I guess, to get updated here, I guess, eventually? This doesn't look bad, don't get me wrong. I see you got the Torch Edition in there, but I think that's pretty cool. But to have, like, say, for example, the 50th anniversary, I guess, in there, I think the fact that you've got your signature in that's pretty cool. But I think that would be kind of neat to have that 50th in there. Just, again, just those fine-tuning things there. I tend to pay attention to those types of things. So Jerry Mayfield got the pole. He's the record. See, I'm not too far behind him, though. I'm only about 4/10 off of that. Yeah. I mean, that's just something, I know there is definitely a way to be able to, there's a little bit of a process here being able to take an overshot view, I guess, from sandbox, for example, of the track, and then actually apply that that amber effect to it. But yeah, there's a little bit of, because you got to basically wash out all the objects, whatever, so it actually doesn't, it takes on that orange, that amber. It's a little bit of a process there, so that's why the only reason why I mentioned it. Whether you do or not, that's just a little finishing touch to the track I usually like to apply. My thing is either go big or go home. So it's like if you're gonna go through all that effort, I guess, to do that, that's just to kind of get the cherry on the top as far as to really showcase, I guess, the actual track that you have built. So be able to showcase a lot of that off. You won't see a lot of that detail, but you'll see a majority of it. As far as just like the infield objects and stuff like that, you could probably even go a little bit smaller with the actual Dover logo, if it actually was the 50th logo, for example. Just again, no fine takes. Because the fact you got this one updated up in here, if you had something similar to this one actually applied to this one, that would just be the bee's knees, in my opinion. So the track does load. We're gonna go into drive mode, make sure it doesn't crash. Yep, we are good here. So let's just kind of drive around here a little bit and just see what we got here. So this is in testing mode. I don't have anything turned off as far as the population switch. So everything's loaded in testing mode. You get this common issue with the safety vehicles. That's just part of the nature of the shared items. I don't remember which one that is, but yeah, you got the floating headlights. That's just a product, I guess, of using the shared items yet. So you got the garage area here with some of the war wagons in there. You can definitely drive all through here. Yeah, is that one the fire truck? Yeah, I couldn't remember which one it was, but that's definitely from the use of the shared items anyway. So you got the bridge still here. You don't have any badging. I think we've pointed this out before, so there's no badging on the bridge. In fact, we'll go ahead and turn the mirror off for a second. So there's no badging on the bridge up until race weekend. And then this bridge over here doesn't have any badging on it usually anyway. But yeah, you can see the infield lights over there. They're in the infield there. Just kind of take a look at the track. Just kind of take a tour, take the dime tour. Yep, so you've got the official here with the pit entry. You got the safety vehicles there. Pretty much everything that we were observing in the track and sandbox. Yep, so you've got the wall logo still showing up on the pit wall there. Pretty cool. Yeah, so you get a sense of... I want to be able to pan around here, I guess, as far as I keep going for my mouse here. I guess I'll be able to pan around like I can in other games, but we don't have that ability in this in here without using camera control master or anything like that. So I'm going to check out the pit stall. I don't think there was an issue with the placement here. I can't remember, but we're going to check this out. So now we got the tires are definitely on the proper side of the wall. Straight pits, you know, as far as the ones on the straight here, are definitely much easier to do, I guess. Curved pits are always a hassle. 100%. 15-second stop. Nice, guys. My guys are just on it. So yeah, so now we've confirmed that the track does load in testing mode. I'll go ahead and get out of here. And we're going to load this up into a race weekend. So let's go all the way back. We're going to go to single race. Alright, and we're going to keep this on our 20-lap event. And we got at least 42 cars loading up in here, so we got a full field. And get this one loaded up. So again, we're looking to see in race weekend to see if it's... So we get to that screen. That's a good sign. Very good sign. Okay, so we'll go to drive. We should start the first stall here initially. Actually, I'm going to go in this mode. So we should have some other cars on the track here too.
Clear to the wall. They're all clear. All clear. Go hard.
So we do have all the grass logos that are in the track there. We noticed in testing mode they're not there. Same thing as we saw. So you got the badging. You got the banner that's now on the bridge as far as the general tire.
slow, go hard.
Really cool effect there, because as far as to have those things either come or go depending on which session you're in. Really gives you a sense of, you know, which mode am I actually testing, or if am I actually in a race weekend. Pretty good frame rates going through the front stretch here. You got the cars are starting to load in here. I want to leave that mirror off whenever you can see getting really good frame rates just as far as running by myself here, even with the cars now coming onto the track.
Clear low. One inside.
Just kind of take it easy around here. Just kind of check everything out. It's coming down the front stretch. It does drop down quite a bit, but it's still very fruitful, I guess, as far as that. Staying up in the high 40s, low 50s. So initially when I run this race here, I'll start from the back. I want to check it out from that perspective and see what kind of results we get.
One inside. 26.1.
Trying to get some cars to me so they kind of force the issue against as far as, you know, have
Clear low.
graphics and all that stuff. As far as the visuals, need to actually render some things. Getting some really good frame rates though in this mod. Now I got some cars in front of me here.
4.726.
There's something I don't have on. Let's see if I can get that back on here. There we go. Got to turn that off from last week, I believe. Right now I'm running 20 seconds. I'm running about mid-pack. A little bit less than mid-pack.
Clear. 24.
See how good we can actually do here. I got the AI strength up to like 94 or 95%, something like that. Might even be higher. I definitely know I got him cranked up a little bit. But not quite to 100%.
Kind of got a couple cars stuck on the bottom here. Down the back stretch.
Really smooth frames though. Nice and smooth. No lag. No stutter or anything. Oop, kind of pushed out there and out for 2.
One inside.
Is that what I had it set up? Was it 95? I knew I had it up in the high 90s there.
One inside.
Got one on my inside.
Clear.
Rubbin's racing there, buddy.
0.9.
Still running about mid-pack.
4.
These guys are pretty fast. I'm way out of the groove too, though.
Stay high.
He's still on my inside.
Clear. Inside.
Still on my inside.
Stay high.
I see you.
Still there. 24.
A little side-by-side action there.
5. Stay high. Still there.
And a push is really bad, as you did too there. That turn 2 is a mother.
Clear low.
Not so bad in turn 4, though.
24.3.
Good side-by-side racing there with, I think that's Mayfield. Mayfield in 19. I'm going to make an attempt next time around of coming into the pits there. I am not running very fast though. I'm only running 36 so far.
3.98.
These guys are kicking my butt. Distant practice. Alright, I'm going to come into the pits. I'll make an attempt anyway. So I'll still have that first pit stall. I have to go all the way through the pits.
Outside. Clear high. Hit road speed 35.
Oh, a little bit hot there.
3,000 second gear.
Just a little bit hot. Yeah, so I was going about 37 when I hit the line. Granted, this is just practice, so it's not going to give me a black flag or anything, but if I was to do that during the race, I would have probably definitely got a black flag. Yep, so we'll just come down pit road here. We can watch in the frames here. So we're still low 50s. Low 50s, high 40s. Pretty decent frames.
7. 1.
Yeah, very, very decent frames. Definitely liking how the tires, a little bit of clipping into the wall there, but definitely not as bad. Definite improvement. As we observed from last time, anyway.
Okay, go, go, go.
Oh, a little bit slower stop there.
35. There you go, man. That's
Okay.
3,000 second gear.
So that's a little bit of practice there. Let's go ahead and go right to race, and we're going to do this in. We got it in full pace lap, so we kept that on there too, and make sure that was on there. So we're going to go get out of the car and go right to race. We're going to qualify from the back. Start from the back. I always like to wait for that cue there before I go in. That's always what I like to go by. Anyway.
Drivers, start your engines.
So we're starting shotgun. So you can see we're still high 20s, low 30s. I guess as far as the frame rate, starting way from the back, and I hit the wrong gear. Driver error. Yeah, so on pit road with all that, with all the cars loading and all the livery as far as the war wagons and all that stuff, still pretty significant frames. I don't see a lot of stutter. Definitely won't see any poly-tear or anything like that with this mod. But with the beefier mods, we'll try it out with the Make 19 as far as the mod, the Make 19 as far as the newest mod. I guess that was out by Splash and Go. We'll definitely try it out that way too. This one here will more or less be the same as running the original Pappy mod, the Pappy Cup series.
Alright, man. I'll call the green there. Nice smooth shift. I'll walk in front of you. Go get him. Alright, man. Pace car's in. Get ready.
If caution flag doesn't come out, I'm gonna try and bring one out without hopefully wrecking myself. So you can see the wing foot's out during the race. I forgot to make mention of whatever it does not show, I guess, during testing and or practice. But that is how that's supposed to work now. As far as with the wing foot. The Goodyear blimp. Really fun track to drive on, though. Oh, God. I'm pushing a little bit. Ooh. I pushed there just a little bit.
24.332.
Whoa, baby. You see that wing foot up in the air there? I was kind of eyeballing that. It's flying up above there. I think the height of that's actually pretty decent. It's not too low and not too high. You at least get a chance to see it.
24.
Oh, got a little loose there. Way up out of the groove there, though. Oh, there's a little juke and jiving up in front of me here. Catching back up to him here. Ooh, easy. Slicing and dicing. Oh, we got someone blowing up.
24.
Someone blew up. Oh, he's on the apron. There he is. So that's the use of that limp line between the Max Panic and the limp line. So he was able to get off the track without bringing a caution out. That's definitely a good thing. The AI is able to get off the track and not cause any additional issues. That's something I'll probably take a look at too, I guess, once we get out of the track here. Actually observe, I guess, as far as what those new LP lines look like. That Torch just got put together for us. We can already see it in action right there as far as that AI being able to get out of the way. He was able to navigate to that limp line. Ooh, pushed out of further a little bit. I was kind of hoping a caution would come out. As much as we want to see these races go green, But I'm continuing to just kind of stay here in the back just to monitor the frame rates. I'm going to try to push my way up here a little bit. Hopefully I don't bring a caution out. But if it does, then that's something else we can test here. Oop, got into Kyle there a little bit. Casey Mears in the 41 as a rookie.
Clear.
I am so out of the groove, it's not even funny. Oop. Kyle, close it. Oh, God. Hold on. Kind of slid the tires a little bit. That's all driver error. I tried to squeak it in there and get it on the other side of Kyle. That didn't work too well. I thought better of that. Was able to save it at least. Now I probably done wrecked my tires.
25.2.
Wingfoot looks really good up there. Run this all the way through. So this is a 20 lap event. We're halfway done right there. I might have to rough up Casey Mears here a little bit. We'll go to the low side. Oh, God. I didn't want to do it quite that bad. Did I bring a caution out? Nope, but I wrecked my car. I'm coming to the pits. So we started from the back. Just want to be able to come into the pits here and monitor this here. Yeah, so these still here is a little bit off yet. As far as the rotation, it looks like it's the rotation. You'd have to go more counterclockwise. Easy adjustment. That's what's kind of the tough thing, I guess, with curved pits. Yeah. Oh, they had to shut my motor off too. Oh, nuts. Scolded the bot and got nothing. Man, they're doing a number on my car. Of course, I walloped Casey Mears are pretty good though. Pretty darn good. Yeah, they took the front end off. Oh no. Official standing there making sure I get all that work done. Yeah, so it is a little bit off, I guess, on this end of the. So probably a little bit of tweaking, I guess, on the rotation as far as those radians that we talk about. I guess as far as this will need to go counterclockwise. There is a little bit of a jig that I use, cheat sheet, if you will, as far as to know which way that rotation needs to go. I can kind of go over that a little bit. That's okay. I wasn't trying to win this race anyway, but it kind of gives you. I want to at least check out what that orientation of that pit stall is. So my front end is completely gone. Completely gone. They had to cut it all off. Yeah, corners do stink, but it does come down to getting that right amount of rotation there, and I can kind of go over that a little bit as far as you can look at the track guide and kind of give you somewhat of an idea how that works. Trying not to speed. Cool. Cool. No black flag. I made sure I kind of forced it to go well under the speed limit, so just to make sure I didn't get any erroneous black flag, as most people would say. Downshifted there, and I want to do that. Benson's out with it. He's the one that blew up. Oh, crap. Dudes. All right, now I'm going to stay up at the top here. Stay up at the top here. Let them all go. There's no sense in pushing the issue. There we go. Let them all go by. I'll take the caution. This is one thing I noticed a lot of drivers that are already a lap down. You know, they get frustrated and whatever to the point that they want to take out. It's like, well, if I can't win, you guys can't. And it's so ridiculous, but I just let the lead cars go.
Stay behind. 12.
12. I gotta stay behind the 12.
20.
Past the 20. Okay. Gonna let me through. And we're already at the checker.
20.
Yeah, I'm 7 laps down, by the way, because I spent
I think pit
a
road
good
will be
3
open.
or 4 laps in the pits. I'm just gonna take the checker.
Slow down, Junior. We got the heater fender on it.
We are done.
Yeah, we got to get a little bit better.
You,
That's all, man.
do you
We'll figure
think?
it out.
We gotta get a little bit better, he says.
Appreciate everybody working hard. Keep working.
And there we go. That's all
Done
good.
good job.
So I wanted to
Appreciate
test it
you
that way
working
just to
hard
see
here,
how
kid.
the flags would cycle as far as that close to the yeah. So I spent the better part of 4 laps, you know, as far as especially coming. By the time I got back out there, I was already 4 laps down. So just trying to catch back up to the field. I really want to get a sense as far as where the flag cycles would actually be, and that seems about right. It definitely seems about right. But yeah, that's something I will take a look at, I guess, in the track guide as far as how to get those orientations correct. We can look at the numbers that are in there currently and actually apply the jig and actually get it to where it needs to be.
Eagle man number 3000, second gear.
It's more or less just in the rotation. As far as the DLAT, it looks pretty good, and you can already tell even with the marking on the ground that it's a bit off. So we need to bring it counterclockwise. So we need to move the front end as far as the center orientation of the car closer to the wall. So it's more or less just rotation as far as those radions anyway. Okay, so that's testing it with this mod. Now what I want to test it with is with I want to use a little bit beefier mod. So we're able to take it to the paces there, and I'll also do the same thing as far as the start from the back as opposed to the front, because that's going to really, you know, force the graphics to have to load in and, you know, really benchmark it. Stickers on your tires, yeah. So that's something else that they've actually, you know, just those little fine tweaks, I guess, to this mod, you know, to kind of enhance, you know, what Pappy would have done, I guess, if they were to refine, I guess, the original cut mod. So to put the stickers on the tires and things like that. I think that's, you know, on top of the really big thing that they did, that Splash and Go did with the mod, to play homage to it as far as the original cut mod for the sim, is to fix the ever god-awful problem, I guess, as far as the warping and stuff, as far as being able to apply textures to the nose section in particular, as well as other areas around the actual car. So they eliminated all that. So it's like when you paint something, you're actually put the whole decal onto the different sections, the way they've done the templates and the overall texture mapping of the body of the cars. There's what was the main focus, I guess, as far as you know, refinement of that mod. But they kind of added all that other stuff too, like the stickers on the tires and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And over time, they do actually wear off, just like they do on the Monster Energy mods. They do tend to wear off over time. I had to get me a bit of a drink there, so I'm going to go into Monster Energy mod. We're going to load that bad boy up. Let's go this way. So we're going to load this one up. This one's a little bit more. It's obviously, from what we've seen, as far as like, it's very more graphics intense. Got a lot more detail as far as the overall bodies, to include all the makes. So I definitely want to see. We can throw this at the track and see what type of response we get. So we noticed, on average, there running mostly in the back with that mod that we just did. We're in the for the most part, I would say the upper 40s, low 50s, all the way down to maybe like low 40s. Excuse me, high 30s, low 40s. So it didn't really get much lower, I guess, than the average 30 frames. So there's really no reason, I guess, to have to really adjust anything. And I got quite a bit applied, I guess, as far as my graphics too. I know I haven't necessarily shown that before. So if I go into my options to show you all my graphics settings, I got everything pretty much cranked up. The only thing I do have turned off is shadows from structures. So if I was to turn this on, Might get a little bit more hit in there, but everything else is pretty much maxed out. A drawing distance at 100%, so everything loads 100% in front of me. There's really no lag, and then with all the optimization that has been applied to the track as far as to move out that outer X section, whatever, I'm seeing everything. Just as you can see, there's about some people would necessarily, if you got a beefier system, would necessarily put their texture filtering on extreme. Mine's just on normal, so it's not necessarily max, but it's pretty much everything else is on high. Mirror quality, I don't know why I got this turned on. But the fact that I do to get mirror quality anyway, I guess, as far as even with that being at none. So that just gives you somewhat of an idea of what I'm dealing with here. 32-bit color, as opposed to, that's the highest true bit that you can get in Enter 2003 in comparison to modern sims. So that's just to kind of give you a little bit of a rundown of what type of settings that I'm running here and the results that I'm getting on that. So let's load up. Yeah, let's get out of that. I didn't make any change. Oh, you know what? It's bringing up that menu because I did go into the mirror quality. So yeah, it is asking me to go ahead and save that. Anytime you touch any one of those menu items, just like you do in Sandbox, doesn't necessarily mean that you really made a change. That's the only reason why that comes up is all. Yeah, the textures for 20, that's one of the main things in comparison. Now, even with that mod that I ran, the Winston Cup 2003 mod that Splash and Go did, those textures too are also 2048. They did take the initiative note just to optimize the overall car files by only using, I think, a 512 texture template for the pit crews, as far as the war wagons, but the also those textures for the cup cars are, and actually we can probably even look at that here really quick. Let me get out of this really quick, and I'll kind of show, again, just to kind of give clarity, I guess, as far as, and to be transparent, I guess, as far as like everything that is being thrown at this track at this point, just to kind of make these comparisons. So if we go into, let's go into that series mod here for that, let's see, where's my series folder, and then this one right here, and we'll take a look at all the car files. So the car files here, and you can see that they are compressed too, so the 2048 compressed, so you can see the maximum file sizes on here are not much more than 3 megabytes, as far as like that. And when you, and like I said, everything in multiplicity, I know I've said this plenty of times before, anything in multiplicity, as far as like if you're adding a lot of bulk in your file sizes, anything in multiplicity is going to cause a problem for the simulation. So the more reduction that you can have in your textures to include your car files, the series that you're running, is definitely going to make a huge impact. So just to kind of use, they got some fictionals in here, but let's use, say for example, let's do the 48 Lowe's. That's going to be Jimmy Johnson's car from that. So if we open this with Windmill 2 in this case, and then we're going to go, we got to change some settings here really quick. So we're going to go into car file editor, and then we're going to navigate to our game track directory. Actually, I'm going to go this way. So go to Papyrus, there, series. I just want to show, and that's this one. And we're going to open up, I do have that unpacked too. I didn't realize that. So we'll just navigate to, yeah, WinMap 2 has been really buggy today for some reason. That's to be expected. It's a very primitive type of program, but it's very useful. So you can kind of see it even takes a little bit for it to load, but these are 2048 templates, as you can tell, but they are compressed. So in comparison to the original templates that Papyrus had in there, which were only a maximum of 1024 with a 512 template, these have a 512 pit crew template as they usually did, but the it's one power 2 up on the actual textures. So that's really the only thing different besides the other refinements that have been made to the mod as far as the texturing of it. So yeah, that's to kind of give you some clarity. So throwing quite a bit at that. So the fact that these cars and the optimization that does exist, and I've shown this before, as far as like no matter if you're using the original Cup mod or this mod by Splash and Go, you're still relatively getting the same frames, even with everything else that they've got added to it, to include a compressed 2048 texture template on all the cars. So lots of optimization in that mod, definitely, to have that same result as the original cut mod, but yet to add that much detail to it. So let's navigate back to our tracks folder. Over here. So there we go. So everything so far is we're doing good. So two things that we'll check out, I guess, as far as once I try it out with the this Monster Energy 2019 mod by Splash and Go. And again, it's a much more detailed mod. Ah, crap! And I lost my calibration. Son of a gun. That happens sometimes. That's a common problem with Inter 2003. I'll just go ahead and get back out and come back in. That usually fixes that problem. Just give me a second. Yeah, let's go ahead and get out of that. Done. Yeah. That happens. Don't even give me this crap. Just get out of this. Yes. Just escape. There we go. We're going to get out of this and come back in. Common problem. I don't want to mess up anything with that there. Alright. And that might have been something to do. A lot of times when I notice that happens for me is if I go into the game and I'll have it on a mod screen, but I don't necessarily load it and I'll get right back out. A lot of times what will happen is you'll lose that calibration because of not going into an actual track. As far as at least going into the race menu and going into testing, say, for example. That's 100% almost every time that'll happen for me. Doesn't really have anything to do with the wheel or anything like that. It's just the nature and the nature of the beast, I guess, as far as the way Enter 2003 is with newer types of controllers. That, in my case, being the Logitech G27. So let's go ahead and load that back up here. Yep. Bring up our profiler again and load it back up. Nothing major. Okay, so we already tried it in testing. We're going to load this up this way. Give that a second to load. Torch has been pretty solid, I guess, on these shots, too. I think you had gotten one, I guess, coming into the stream there, too. I don't think you gotten a jackpot yet, though. Alright, so this time, yeah, we want to make sure we get it. We want to get a... Let's see. Let me load this one up. Yeah, so this would probably be some fictional cars in there, but that's okay. We're at 95% in opponent strength, just like we were for the original test. The only thing we're doing here is a different mod, making sure we still got 42 cars. We're going to do 20 laps, starting from the back. But yeah, a couple things that we want to be able to check out once we test this out is look at that orientation of the pit roads and also look at the LP files. So before I get out of this sim here, we'll go into the testing mode. In any mod, it doesn't matter which. As long as it's in testing mode, we'll be able to try check out those orientation of those LPs. Alright, so track loads this way. Also with this mod. Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and just go right to race. So again, we're going to be able to see.
Drivers,
now, I kind of noticed that the pit road, or the cars are actually slightly past, I guess, the end of pit road there, and I noticed he took advantage, I guess, of keeping the cars as much behind that lead segment as possible by doing so. That was something else I just noticed on that start there. You can see how far ahead the actual front runners are. That's 100% very good, very good practice, I guess, to make sure that if you got the room on the track to be able to put the cars on the one side of the lead segment, that's the best approach. So especially with a track like this, I know on short track it's going to be pretty tough to do that because you don't have a lot of room to be able to do so. Just because of lack of real estate, I guess, to be able to put all the cars, even in a double file.
Alright, man. I'll call the green there. Nice smooth shift. I'll walk in front of you. Go get them.
But definitely, by any means, if you have any opportunity or option to do that, they definitely want to make sure they're on the one side of the lead segment. Whoops, downshifted again. All right, so observing this one starting from the back, we're Now let me get up here a little bit closer. So we're still running mid 30s, low 40s, frame rate wise. Oh, push the leer a little bit. Let's work our way back up into the field here. I'm gonna dig just for a second. Still some pretty solid frame rates through the. Even working my way up to the back up to the field. We're about mid 30s, low 40s, which is only about maybe 10 frames less than the 2003 Winston Cup mod. Maybe about a 10 frame drop or difference, but it's really not that much to really notice. Not getting any stutter or lag, anything of that nature. Work my way into this field here. These guys are tough. These guys are rated pretty strong. I got it on a 95 percentile, so they're kicking my butt right now. Got a lot of fictional cars in here, so I think they're rated pretty high. See the wing foot up in the air there. I keep noticing that. Somewhat of a distraction, but I think that's adds to the immersion, I guess, as far as driving around the track anyway. Ooh, got some cars scraping against the wall there. That was cool. The other thing I want to take a look at too before I get out of this here is actually check the walls as far as in the corners. So we did see how they looked in the sandbox there, but I want to definitely look at them from inside the sim here. So I'll take a look at that before we get out as well. We can probably look at that at the same time we check out the orientation of the LP files in testing mode. That'd probably work pretty good. It's hard for me to catch up to these guys. They're kicking my butt. Is that 95 percentile? Opponent strength. We be digging though. I can see the blimps just coming out of turn 4 there. So it is navigating around the track, I guess, in that same direction, I guess, as we are around the track. Counterclockwise. As we get down to the front straightaway there, we should see him closer to turn 1. Yep. Oh, he's over the grandstand, moving up towards turn 1. So the navigation of the Goodyear blimp is pretty solid. Oop, closing in on him here. Oh, God. I want to try and get a caution out here, too, is what I want to see what the damage is, I guess, as far as when we do get a caution here. But also, I want to run as one-to-one test like I did there as far as like get closer to the end of the race. So once we get to halfway, I'll really push it. If a caution comes out, then all the better. Just want to push the limits, I guess, as far as the, forcing the game to have to load in all that detail. Okay, we're at halfway. I'm gonna push here a little bit more. Try to do relatively the same type of test I did in the other 2003 Cup mod. Slice and dice. Shake and bake. Oh, you can see him scraping the wall there. That's pretty cool. Got the sparks coming off there.
One outside at your door.
Watch that apron.
Stay low there. 23.3.
I'm just gonna dive bomb this thing in here.
Still up there.
Oh god! Oh god!
Clear.
Got into the 46 there a little bit. Slicing and dicing.
Stay high.
Getting out of the groove here a little bit.
At your door. Clear.
Pretty solid race so far.
3.853. One outside.
Oh, God. I pushed there a little bit. I thought I was going to get into the 74.
They're high.
If this goes all the way green, that's fine too.
23.22.
Wearing my tires out though too.
Outside. Still up there. Still up there.
I got at a pit frequency at 2, I believe.
They're high. Inside. Clear low. Inside.
Slicing and dicing.
Still there. 5 to go.
5 to
Still
go.
there. 23.5.
Really pushing your... God dang it, these guys are tough. Oh, crap. Pushed up a little bit.
Inside. Stay high. Clear low.
Man, the ratings on these cars, man, they are really high. These are a lot of fictional cars in here, so I'm sure they probably are.
3.719. One outside at your door. Stay low there.
We definitely don't have Dodges running in the actual Cup Series, so
Stay low there.
definite fictionals. Pretty cool looking cars, though.
Still there.
We're running this all the way to the green, folks.
23.4. 8. 6. Outside. Still up there.
Don't push, don't push, don't push, don't push.
Clear.
Gained a couple spots at least anyway.
Two to go. 23.
Should get that white flag here pretty soon.
5.
So once we get on the back stretch here. There it is. Pretty good timing.
Outside. Still there.
We're digging.
Still up there. Still up there. They're high. White flag. What to go the line? 23.
The fact that I'm still running next to 43, that's really good timing on the, so I could get the checker flag right now. Yep. Perfect. Because you got the leader way up there getting into turn 4.
Outside. Stay low there. Still there.
Oh god, oh god. Hold on to it. Oh god.
Clear low.
Whew. That's tough, man.
Yeah, we gotta get a little bit better.
Gained a few spots anyway.
We'll figure it out.
Holy crap, these guys are tough.
Appreciate everybody working hard. Keep working.
I was digging, folks.
You've done a good job. Appreciate you
Yeah, that was some good hard racing there. I like that. But see now, oh my goodness, look at this mess.
Yellow's out. Digging. Caution's gonna be out. All the way to the line.
What the heck happened
All the way to the
there?
line.
Wow. I guess they're figuring it out though.
So
They're working their way over to the pits
Diesel
row.
amendment for 3,000 second gear.
Yeah, so the pit entry light's working there. Yeah, they figured it out. So I think that's all due to the, having that the pit LPs redone there. So even though they did wreck there, they did sort it out there and they were able to carry on. So there's a test with the more of the beefy mods, I guess, for the sim, and pretty solid race. Was able to finish it all the way to the green flag with no harm, no foul. So now what I want to do is go into the testing mode. Who won it anyway? Harley Quinn, yeah, that's all fictional stuff. So, all right, so let's go into testing mode, and we want to take a look at this thing in testing mode. A couple things we want to check. We want to look at the that orientation of the foam and the geometric walls, as well as to open up the LPs as far as going to the reflap of this. And you only can do this in testing mode. It doesn't matter which mod you're in. If I haven't made that abundantly clear, you can, just as long as you're in testing on the track that you want to see the LP files for. So we're going to go into drive. So the first thing I'll do before I load up the reflap there is let's go take a look at the foams here. We'll just try it this way. I just want to see how these look. So I drive around here. We just want to see. Definitely, I could always save a replay if I wanted to. And that's usually the approach I'll take, to actually be able to pan the camera over so I can actually see. But from what I can see so far, we don't have that foam actually protruding over the top like we saw before, as far as the geometric safer. It's definitely tucked well under and behind that, as it should be. So that's the only thing I'm observing right now, just to kind of see how that looks. A lot better. Much better look to it. And the fact that we did see some of the AI actually getting, they were you know, kind of, I don't want to say hugging it, but they were tapping that that safer wall as far as we were going into turn 1. I noticed a lot of scrape without disturbing them, you know, just getting that spark effect, I guess, off there. So we got that one logo there we mentioned earlier. And so we're still not seeing any of that foam, even as we get to the exit of 2. Now it kind of sucks in there a little bit, I noticed there. I don't know if that's the way it actually does there, but I guess we'll have to take Torch's word on there. So we're all pretty good, I guess, throughout here. So let's go check 3 and 4. So again, we're all in testing mode here. So we're going to turn 3 here. Check it out here. So we can see him kind of pop in there, but it looks like it gets a little bit sucked in there, I guess, as far as on the exit and entrance of there. And that could be just my perspective here. I could always take the approach of, like I said, saving a replay. And it sun's bright. Let's get it behind the grandstand here. Yeah, but you definitely don't see any of that foam protruding past that geometric steel, the safer wall. That was a huge thing that was very noticeable last time. We don't have that anymore. Very cool. Yeah, what's up with this light? What's going on with this light? Whoops, wrong way. Notice this light's got a little misorientation here. That one's a little bit out of whack, so that might be something to take note of here. We can probably actually check that in Sandbox there too, but that one looks a little out of wonk. Yeah, we're gonna need to fix that one. So yeah, just continuing to observe, I guess, the orientation of the foam to the geometric steel, as well as the concrete. We definitely don't want the foam being, you know, protruding on the concrete either. We want a nice and so far I'm seeing that nice uniformity all the way through this. It's pretty good. All the way up to turn 4 here. I'm not seeing any problem here whatsoever. And coming back on the front stretch here. So on the front stretch here, we didn't have too much of a problem as much as we did in the turns. Okay, so with that all being done, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our LP files. So let's go ahead. I'm actually going to switch over mods here. Let's do this. Just for the sake of it here. I'm going to switch over mods. Not that you really needed to, but I want to use the Fred Jones car. Because I just feel like it. Alright, so let's switch it on over to this one back here. I just really like the looks of that car. Yeah, I would say they looked pretty good. I didn't see any problems other than that caution light there. You know, sort of that track condition light, I guess, in the middle of 3 and 4. Looks like that might get thrown on a wonk there a little bit, so let's load this up. And drive. And I want to get into this mode. It's what they call the Jesus mode. Just getting way out outside of the car here. I'm going to turn it on, and by depress of the left control, left alt, left shift, and your little tilde key that's usually above your tab right next to your 1 key, that turns on the reflap. And I want to turn this off. I can see that up at the top left of the screen. There's a little bit of dialogue there to let you know that's on. And then now what we want to do, I gotta get my cheat sheet. So give me a second. I think I got it right over here. And all this information is available on the the video that I showed last week as far as how to enable and use the reflap application that's built right into the sim. All these controls to include it as far as how to enable it and so on. So we're not going to be doing any edits to the LP's files themselves. All we want to do is be able to look at them. So for this, all we need to do is at first you turn on the so always got to remember, this is why I got my cheat sheet here. So I want to toggle it to control tilde, turn that one on. That toggles that one on. That's all we're doing is toggling at this point. We want to look at the pit lines there. So those are the red deals there. So we want to toggle control 4, 5. Nope, got it wrong. 3, 4, and 5. So control 3, 4, and 5. This is what our new LPs look like for the pits here. I'm already noticing there's a couple of them here that looks like they merge into each other. And as much as I mentioned before, you want to make sure you can avoid that as much as possible, because you will potentially have the AI will run into each other if those are too close. So let's take a look at these. So we got our min pit that's on the outside as far as to the right. You got the pit line, which is the primary line that such things like the pace car and even the AI will follow and then navigate themselves to either the max or the min pit. So the min pit's to the right, max pit is to the left. So these have all been redone. So we definitely want to pay closer attention, I guess, to what's going on in the pit entrance and exit. So again, as much as possible, try not to have those lines merge or cross over each other too much, because you will run the potential for the AI to actually crash in those positions if you get two cars that come into the same path. So far it looks good over here. So we're coming up the pit entrance. So far it doesn't look half bad. Now we didn't adjust the pit LP, so those are running pretty close together. Honestly, what I would probably do is still probably adjust the pit LP so that it's more towards the middle, so that those two aren't running into each other. Yeah, we didn't have any adjustment to that yet. I'm definitely seeing those two. You want to have them spread out as much as possible. You know, utilizing that area, I guess, as far as where the pit road is. The fact that these are more or less running in the same line for the min pit and the pit, probably don't want to have that. So more or less have to put your pit line, I guess, more in the middle of those two. So maybe just an adjustment to the pit 0 that might be why they kind of ran into each other at the end of it there. Even though coming up to the pit entrance there didn't look too bad. That might be what happened. As some of the leaders came in there, they might have kind of ran into each other once they got into the pits there, because they're really close together. That might have what happened there. So let's take a look at. Now we can't look at the limp line, but we can look at the panic lines as far as in the reflap. And the limp lines are more or less, you can make those independently or base them on the same as your pit lines, say for example. So they do come through the pits. We already discussed that last week. So to toggle on our panic lines, which it'll show both of them on the min and max as far as the inner boundary and the outer boundary. We'll take a look at that. That one is control 9. So we'll turn that one on. We can see what's going on with that. So in this case here, we've got it as close to the pits as we can, as well as to the outer boundary towards the outer wall. So that's what we can see with these pink lines, pink or purple lines we can see around here. Let's take a look at these real quick. So the fact that we do see some crossing over, I guess, with that, that's the only time you really want to see any type of that, because the panic lines are just that. They're panic lines. So the AI may... there's really no way to get around being able to get that panic line as far as the inside line to not cross over the pit lines. It's pretty much impossible. You know, so to basically hug that. So you got another part there. So I want to look at again here. See where those pinch right there, as far as that pit and the min pit right there against the wall. That's probably why they crashed at the end of the race. Is because they were trying to fight for the same location there. And they figured it out, but you can eliminate that by moving over that pit line. So the fact that this panic line here doesn't look too bad. Yep, so you want it right against, as close to the pit wall in this case as possible. This looks good. So yeah, it looks like the only adjustment potentially to make here is the on the pit line, as far as the pit 0. Yep, the panic lines look pretty good, and I would assume that the limp line is. So you know, when I saw that that AI get out of the way, as far as to not bring out the caution, that showed me that that's a pretty solid limp and panic file, panic LP. So that was just to kind of show it in that sense there. So we checked out the foam, as well as that. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll get out of here and we'll take a look at the orientations of the pit stalls, I guess, as far as on that pit entrance in there. Yeah, and that's what you want. You know, when you've got those designed in much that fashion like you've got there, that's the way it should happen. As far as now, it's kind of a collaboration. You know, it's a very fine-tuned balance between the offsets that you have and the I&I, as well as the way your LPs are designed. So the AI will use both as far as what's in the I&I, as far as like, okay, I got this going on with me. Where's the limp file? So it's going to use that offset to say, okay, how far away am I from the closest limp line, as far as how it will react. Of course, it does. There's a factor, I guess, with the car rating too. If the car file has a relatively low car rating, you know, that'll affect, I guess, as far how they respond too. So, but all of those key things, or whatever, play a part in that. But if any one of those is not designed, I guess, the way it should be, as far as the offset in the I&I, the way the LPs are laid, and the way the ratings of the car is definitely going to create a little bit of chaos there. All right, let's see here. Let's turn that back on. We're going to take a look, like I said, now. Let's get out of this. And we're going to look at the positions in the sandbox. I'm going to move the wheel out of the way here for just a second. So I'm going to mute the mic just for a moment, and I'll be right back. Bonehead rating, yeah. Okay, so another fair mention that I was just thinking of, the fact that you may have noticed, I was only trying to show off, I guess, those LP lines, you know, as far as just to show them. I didn't do anything to them. I didn't edit anything. So the fact that I didn't produce any LPs, as far as, you know, saved any or whatever, as far as to save it in my track folder. So I didn't close the reflap application out before I got out of the game. That's the difference between that. Always recommend, as far as like if you're creating LP files, especially that very last one that you create there, because it is a very temperamental program. It's a very buggy and so on, just like a lot of these programs for the sim, to include like Sandbox and WinMip 2 and so on. It does behoove you just to ensure that you don't get a corrupted LP file. Make sure that you completely close out of the reflap utility before exiting the game. Just to ensure that you're not disrupting or corrupting that final LP that you created. Because if you're in there, I guess, creating all your LPs, like say in one time, you know, in succession, there is the potential there. I've ran this in the past, and through experience there, that last LP that you created will get corrupted if you don't completely get out of the reflap program prior to exiting the sim. And I didn't do that there, and that's only because I didn't create any new LP files and such. So that's probably just another fair mention is all. Okay, so what we want to look at now, we've confirmed track works great. Didn't have any issues other than those little minor things that we're going to go over here just a bit here. I'm going to load the track up there with the pit stalls. We know how much curved pits can be a pain, and we do have tools out there, I guess, to be able to help do those a little bit easier. So regardless of what method that you're using, it does behoove you. The approach that I like to take to it, as far as like checking the pit stalls and whether Torch you had done it this way or not, what I like to do when I so as far as like just using the last pit stall, and that's the only example I'm going to make as far as that rotation there, what I do is I like to go actually into the track, and actually put my stall in there just in testing mode, and actually put myself in that position. So move the stall 0 actually to that position, so I can actually see how it looks, and that's what I'm going to do here, just to kind of demonstrate. So what I want to do is swap out this last pit stall with stall 0. So just put 42 up here and 0 down there, so I can actually test this out as I adjust this here. So put 42 here and put 0 here. So when I go into the track and testing mode, I'll be in that stall. Okay, and then we're going to look at these numbers as far as what you got going on here. I'm actually going to get my pit jig here. Let's see here. I should have that. I just got to remember where I put it. The pit jig should be in my directory here. So I got a couple of different ones here. So I got one with no wall, and then I got my pit center with the walls. This is the one with the wall. This is the one I like to use. Even if it is a curved pit stall, it kind of gives you still of an idea. You can kind of balance this on here because it's not contoured with the curve of the wall. You can kind of get a sense of how much dead space you got in here, and I'll show this here in a second here once I put it in here. But the key thing is to get that coordinate right here that's at the center of the X. So whether or not you want to use something like that or just a flat plane on there, I always like to get that distance, I guess, from the wall too. So that's why I tend to use that jig there that has it, because it has that proper distance that you want to have. Which one, as far as like going into and putting yourself in that stall and actually test it that way? I do that for every single stall. So all 43 stalls, I'll move the stall 0 to that position and actually check it. Instead of just taking the word as, you can go by the numbers 100%, so, but that doesn't really test it as far as to see if it's in the proper orientation is all. And I'm going to show this how this works here in just a second. So I'm going to take my jig here and put it into the track. So I'm going to take this one with that texture and put it, go into our third party. Oh, I think my second here, let me get this back on. There we go. Alright, so we are Dover TE, and I'm going to paste these into here. Now this is only going to be on my end, so whichever kind of jig that you're using on there, that's what you want to put in here. So what we're going to do is actually apply this to the track as an object. So we're going to Object Placement View, and what I'm going to do is do a right click and that at or near that position. That should be named Pit Center. Right there. Okay, so that'll load right in, and then I can just orient it. Now I don't need to worry about how high it is or whatever. The only thing I'm concerned with is getting the you can somewhat use that, and we've shown this before in the past too, just like with the cameras. You can somewhat use the degrees on the object there to get the radians, but that's not always a perfect science with that, as far as applying this to your pit stall. We'll make these comparisons. So what I'm going to do, the other thing, once I get this initially set up here, I'm going to use my linear guide as well, because that'll have the D long and D lat that I can use to get that pinpoint. So it's kind of a collaboration between a linear guide and this jig. to kind of give me a sense of what coordinate I need to apply to that stall. So let's get this applied like so. So as far as any of the XYZ information that you get out of the object is not really that useful. I guess if that makes sense. How are we doing there, Showman? No, that's not Showman. That's my bad. I said that wrong. Flight sim here. How we doing, man? It was hard to see. I got the dark mode on there, so I was like, had to double check the name there. How we doing there? Hope you're doing well. Welcome on in the stream. We're just going over how to set pit stalls, I guess, for our track build here that we're helping Torch on for the NANR 2003 racing simulation. Okay, so I just want to get this one. So what I was explaining is, as far as to get that orientation, you can kind of use this here to, because this is really truly the distance that you want, as far as to ensure like such things as the guys go over the wall, the animated crews go over, as far as them putting the tire properly over the wall. So what I like to do, get this somewhat close as far as the straight, even though it is a curved wall, right? And I'll observe. Let's pan over to where that's at, so we can actually see if that jig is clipping through or not. This is what you want to see. So what I try to do is get that center point to where it's not clipping like that. Get it as straight as you can, and just get it to the point where it's not clipping through the wall. Okay, might go back in just a little bit. Okay, a little bit further out, so you can kind of get the idea of as far as what we're doing here. So just move it a little bit out. So somewhere right about there. So even though it's a straight wall, I guess, on the jig, and it's a curved wall, you can still use this to your, to your ability. So this is where the car would sit, right at that point. Now I'm also going to get the linear guide and go into geometry view. Now that that's somewhat in place. Okay, and I'll go into linear guide. Like so. And then at any one of these points here, as far as these white squares, is where you can get your coordinate. So it doesn't matter which one you use, but I usually go like this. I'll go to the outside wall here and put that center of that up on that part of the jig. And then put this right on that spot. So that gives me more of a target, I guess, to go for, but besides that spot, actually on. And it gives me something to go back to, because I'll usually take this jig and actually put it in multiplicity in the track. I won't move this. Once I got this into position, I'll leave it there, and I'll actually save this as a new PTF, as a throwaway that I can always come back to. So as I go in there and check and move my stall 0, I guess, to each one of those spots that I put down in the INI, I'll be able to check it. If it needs adjustment, I know exactly where I need to go and where I had it at last, and I can adjust it accordingly. So in this case here, if I'm satisfied with this orientation, I can just go to this and observe the numbers on the bottom right of the right corner of the screen. So it's kind of hard to see because it's in the white paint there. Let me navigate this here a little bit. Get it somewhere where we can read it. There we go. Let's put our mouse pointer there. So 1323.74 is the D-long. Not too far off. Got 1323.86. So that's not what we're concerned with. We're concerned with the D-lat and the rotation. Right? So we're at 26.96 for that. So let's see what we get when we put that on our point. 26.76, and you got 26.96. So that's not really too far off. Now, it's just a minimal thing there, but probably what I'll end up doing is actually going down to the 29.76. Now, the other little cheat sheet that I've got here, and I've shown this before too, and it would behoove you. I can probably share this too. I guess that's probably another fair mention, but right in my, again, in my track edit directory here, I have a little cheat sheet here that I refer to. Just gotta find it. It's been a while since I've had to reference it. Is this it? Nope, that's just the picture. That shows that in action there as far as for another track. Just gotta remember where I put it. Yeah, here it is. So I got the INI. Yeah. So here's a more simplified one. So it kind of shows you as far as what's going on with this jig. So that center point, which are basically the car length is approximately 6 meters lengthwise. So this center is what you want to go by. So that's what explains that, at least anyway. That was another little tool that I made. But as far as to get what everything does here, this is a little bit smaller. I think I got a bigger one here. Yeah, here's one. This is an OG one. I did this one a long time ago. In fact, this is back from 2007, I think. 2008. Yeah, 2008. So let me zoom in on this. So this gives you a lot of information right here. It's got a little bit of a diagram of the car. It shows you this is your DLAT as far as your side-to-side motion. How far is the car from the actual pit wall, and then how far into the stall you actually are based on the center point. So the additional information here, using that information, this one doesn't really explain as far as how you get that information. That's what the other little diagram here, but this gives you especially for rotation. So in order to turn the car rotation wise as far as counterclockwise, we got to observe what direction do we need to go. In this case, we need to go counterclockwise. So rotation of the car to the left, from left to right. So being more of a negative number rotates the car clockwise, which means it would go this way. So increasing this negative number higher will turn the car this way. Okay, so if we make that a lesser number, more of a positive number, that turns it counterclockwise. And that's what we want to do. So in this case here, we go to our INI, we're at 10 degrees, minus 10 degrees, so we got to lower that number, make it more positive so that it moves the nose of the car closer to the pit wall. So also I'm going to change this number to 76, and then also change this rotation. I'm going to split this in half. So I'm going to do 0.5, and then we're going to go into the sim. We're going to save this file, go into the sim. We're going to actually look and see where we're at. So we don't really need the wheel for that. All it takes is just to load it up in testing and actually go see where it's at. So we're going to save this. And I'll do this for every single stall, especially if it's a curved one. Especially. Alright, so let's go ahead and load this up into the sim now that we got the position saved. So, two things that I changed. There was a rotation. I just going to split that in half. And it's a little bit of a guesswork there. Probably something else I should probably go over as far as to get the degrees here. So if I go back into the object, so the degrees that we got here is 124 degrees. There's really no way, I guess, to translate this into the radians necessarily. This is just to kind of show really any of this information as far as the X, Y, Z and the degrees here is not really useful as far as for getting that. The only way you can really tell, let's put it this way, if you're on a straightaway, if you're relatively on a straight section, it's going to be at 0. So it really all depending on what direction the curve is going. In this case here, it's kind of going more positive, but it's got a little bit of negative to it as far as the orientation of the car, because obviously it's not straight as it would be in this part. So in this part, we're more at 0. So as we turn this way, we're turning clockwise, if that makes sense. So the more we go this way, the car is turning more clockwise as far as this rotation. So that's the only thing you have to go by, using a jig like this to move it more clockwise. We'd have to have a more negative number, right? So it becomes a little bit of a guessing game yet at this stage to know how much of a degree that we need to have it at. You can usually start it at something around, with this type of angle, away from that, you can kind of get an idea. 0's right here, so by the time you get to here, you can kind of see that arc here. It's probably about a 5 degree from this point to here. So that's why I've set that to that point. And we can actually see that so far because we already tested that. It was at a minus 0.10, and that was too much because it was pointed too far away from the pit wall, so we're going to move it more positive to move it more counterclockwise to straighten it up, and we'll be able to test that. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of testing, I guess, to be able to see that. So I just kind of wanted to show that. There's really no way, I guess, to take any information from the jig or even the, yeah, like you can with the camera jig anyway, as far as what the camera edits. It's not as useful, I guess, for that purpose. Alright, so what we'll do, we're going to go ahead and load this back up and load the game back up and check our position now. I've adjusted both the distance, the D-lat, as well as that rotation. Why is this not loading up here? Hello? I thought I clicked on it. Guess not. Alright, let's go in here and check it out, though. And it doesn't matter which mod, like I said, as long as... You can just go into testing mode. You don't really need to go in this race mode or anything like that. Not necessarily just to go in there and check your stall out. Just give it a second to load. There we go. So I am still in the... Yeah, let's just go this mod. That's fine. Alright. So testing mode it is. And then, because I set that stall that I want to check to 0, that's where I'm going to spawn. Alright, so when I go into here, it's going to be in that spot. Just like that. So I can see I went a little too far. You can see I'm where I'm pointed there, I'm a little too far. So I want to go probably, it was at a minus 0.10, so I'll probably go something like a 0.07 to kind of straighten it up a little bit. Now, just to kind of show, I don't have the wheel over here, but if I was to shift, you can see the orientation. I'm looking at the lines that are on the actual ground, as far as to get a sense of there that I know I'm probably still, my nose is pointed too much to the outer pit wall, so I want to kind of straighten it out a little bit. That's what I'm going by. But also what I could do, if I bring the wheel over, I can see that the orientation of the tires. But for now, I'm just going to use what the markings on the ground as far as like how that orientation of the car is going to be. So far, we're not too bad. We're not too far off. So we can just get out of this. Okay. And we'll go back into sandbox here. And actually, I can go right to there. I already know, without even going into sandbox, we went from we split it in half. I'm just going to go 0.0. Now, what this is going to do, it's going to put it more counterclockwise. Actually, I need to go down further, now that I think of it. I need to go down even further than that, because we want to go counterclockwise. We want to move that nose closer to the pit wall, so that wasn't enough, actually. So let's go, it may only end up being like a 0.02. Now, again, the more positive it is, it's going to go, again, let me refer to my jig here. So the more positive we go, rotates the car counterclockwise. So that's moving the nose of the car closer to the pit wall. So the more positive, it's going to rotate it this way, counterclockwise. The more negative, it's going to go this way. So we want to get it to go this way, so we need a more positive number on that rotation. And again, those are all in radians. So the fact that we went from a 0.10, we checked it with a 0.05, it's still it needs to go a little bit more. It's going to be a lot closer to 0. It might even be more of a positive number. But we'll check it this way. So we'll save it this way. And go ahead and check it in the sim. And that's the process for each stall. That's to kind of tweak on those curved pits. Yeah, that's what we're going to find out here in a minute. We're going to find out here in just a second. Give that a second to load up here. This is probably the only bad thing is as far as going back and forth into it. But once you get a feel for where the curve's going on, once you get it figured out, I guess, with this one stall, it makes it a little bit easier, I guess, to do the rest of them. You gotta, because then you can see the curve, visually, I guess, is in the track, and getting back to 0 and so on. Once you get on the straightaway and so on, it'll make sense. And you'll find yourself not needing to go in and out of the game as much. Alright, so we'll load that up. That's almost perfect right there. I like that one right there. See how nice and straight we are? We're kind of semi-parallel, I guess, with that outside line as well as the wall. So the nose is not too far pointed towards the outside wall or too close to that. So we're kind of golden right there. And you can kind of use that for a guide as the other ones there. So it'll probably be more closer to positive the closer we get, you know, further up. So this is the very last stall. So the next one will probably be much more closer to 0. So you might have the next couple stalls will be at a -0.2. So once you get to that straight again, it's going to be next to 0. It's going to be on 0, more or less. So this one's good to go right there. Okay. Yeah. So what do we got here? So we got a 0.09 on this one here. So you probably want to put this one probably at a 0.02 as well. So as we get to... And as you adjust these, make sure you're moving your stall, swapping those out, right? Just to swap it out. So whatever, wherever you're putting your stall 0, where you want your car to spawn, just swap it. And then just make sure after you're all done, put all your numbers back where they need to go. As far as all the way from 0 to 42. That's pretty much as far as I'm going to go with that, just to kind of give you an idea of how that process would work there. From what I've seen on the very first pit stall, pretty much spot on, you know, as far as like that very first pit stall that we tested out on. That was good. It's probably mostly these curved pits. Now, another way you can kind of give yourself a little bit of clue, and I pointed that out last week, if you were to take where the openings are on the wall, that'll give you some sense, I guess, as far as, you know, where you're at. This way here, you can't really tell. You'd have to go through each stall. Like, if I physically go in here and lay out each one here, I can go, this one's 42, 41, and so on. So, let's just kind of count here now that I said that. So, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31. So, you probably want to go to stall, excuse me, stall 30 back. And check all those, both your delat and your rotation, more than likely. Much the same fashion I did at that one pit stall. So what I can see here, so going all the way back to 30, you're already at 0. I'm almost thinking those might need to go more negative, possibly. The majority of these might be more like a -0.1 to -0.2. You'd have to check those though. Just out of curiosity though, let's go to stall 30. So again, I'm going 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31. So stall 30, which will be right here out of this line. Let's go ahead and move our stall just so we can check it. We'll move our stall 0, so we'll move 30 to here. And on stall 30, we'll make this 0. So we'll spawn in that position, and we'll be able to check that one out. So save that. We'll go into the sim and actually check that one out. Let's load it up. Well, if you want to check them all again, that's up to you. But I think probably from what I've seen so far, it's probably mostly just going to be in the curve pits. Just in the ones in the curve. But yeah, you can feel free to get us to check them all if you want. That's the process that I do. I like to test them all out because if in any event, if I when I qualify for an event, if I get that stall, I want my stall to be perfect. So I kind of treat every stall as if I was to actually get that stall, I guess, as far as in a qualifying spot. And it's a little bit of work to do it, but I think in the long run, it really it's worth the effort, in my opinion. So that should put us in that stall. So there we are. So what I can see so far, that's perfect. You can see we got the distance from that outer edge of there. So if there's any adjustment to that at all, it's very minimal. And that would probably only be on the delat. So as far as the rotation, it's perfectly fine. So that gives you somewhat of an idea as far as what the rest of them will be from the very last stall to this one. So anything in between, there's going to be a lot closer to 0. Yeah. Cool. But that's how you spawn your car, I guess, to be able to check your pit stalls. Now, I would probably, take the approach as far as backing up in the pits. You don't have to go all the way around the track, right? You can just back up just to the point where your pit crew will spawn, as far as go over the wall. So you don't necessarily have to do a lap every time it gets to come in. It's not really necessary. You can just back up enough and to be able to check the functionality as far as like if they're going over the wall correctly, as well as putting the tires, I guess, on the outs, that proper side of the wall. So yeah, that's pretty much as far as I'll go with that, though. Alright. So probably the only little tidbit of information that I haven't really shared all that much is probably this little cheat sheet here. Oh crap. Don't crash on me. Don't do it. Crap. I gotta give this a second here. I got a lot of stuff loaded up here, so it's probably gonna... Hello? Alright, I gotta close some things down here. System's kind of going bonkers on me a little bit. So I'm not gonna save this, but I would, when I put all my pit jigs down here and such, I would save this as a throwaway PTF as far as just, pit stall jig or whatever, and have the date on it and so on. That way I can always refer back to that if I wanted to make the appropriate adjustments. So using that in conjunction with your linear guide, that jig, whatever it is that you're using, even if you just use the linear guide by itself, as far as to put that on this the center point of the pit wall, and then to extend that outer edge of the linear guide and use that as your point, that's fine too. I like having this jig since it gives me that proper distance that I need to. Now, just to take a reference to that, if you don't have a jig, if you don't have the jig, which I have that available in the Rock Nation Discord, it's 100% available. But to get this distance here, it's roughly, you can see this center point here to the center of the wall, for example, is about 3.5 meters. This is at 3.44. So even if you were to, whoops, I didn't want to move that. I want to move the linear guide. Oh, I gotta get in the right mode here. My bad. That's my fault. So yeah, I'm gonna go by the center here. I don't want to move that. So you can probably set it easily enough at 3.5 meters. And I'll usually go by either the center point or the outside wall here. Not necessarily, because this will put you too far out. In most cases, if you go by the outside. So I always like to extend it out this way and then get this point. And that's only to compensate, I guess, for the way the walls render. As we come to understand, they tend to breathe or flex, if you want. So I always like to go by this, because a lot of times what will happen, especially in a curved pit, what will happen if you measure from the outside here like this and go up to 3.5 meters, you're going to be way out. You'll end up being, your right side tires would be hanging over, I guess, that you want to be within that box. And that was almost perfect as far as what we've got, what we just witnessed on those two stalls. So you thought a jig was a fishing lure? Well, there's plenty of jigs that we can make for lots of things, and this is one of them. So yeah, so 3.5 meters. If you want to take note, I guess, of that, as far as being, if you don't have a jig and you want to be able to get that distance, you can somewhat set your linear guide up to 3.5 meters long. I got a little bit more than that. I got 3. That's roughly about that. So if you put it about 3.5 meters, and then I always like to go, especially if it's a curved pit, like I said, I like to set this at the outside of the wall or close to it, and then that's my center point. Now to get the distance this way, that's going to be a little bit tougher, because then you would have to readjust your linear guide, to that distance, that's 6 meters as far as this length here. Just to kind of show them my jig here. This ends up being about 6 meters. 6 meters, and that's the distance, that's the length of the car. And pretty much any of the cars in there, because that's within that hit box that the sim has. You have to go pick your son up from work soon, so no problem. I'm probably gonna. That's probably where I'm gonna pretty much end it anyway. That's pretty much all I wanted to really go over, to be honest. There's a lot of information, but I think it's all useful information, and I think that's where I'm gonna call it good. I think that's I got everything in that I really wanted to get in. We checked out everything as far as the safer orientation. Fantastic job on that. I think it was these little fine tunings with the pit stall locations. You know, some of the texturings of the wall and stuff like that. I think that's very minimal and just fine tuning stuff. I mean, it's nothing really major. Was able to run 2 races, I guess, with 2 different mods without any issue. Full field of cars. We saw the limp limp LPs as far as in action, as far as that AI get out of the way rather fast without haste. So that was a true test there, if you ask me. I mean, that wasn't even anything that we had to do. That was just AI. Whoops, I'm gonna slid that over there. So yeah, with all that being said, I want to appreciate everybody that did stop by for Spline Design Studios Saturday, and I hope y'all had as much fun as I did, as far as to be able to run a couple of short races, I guess, on the track. Track's doing its fantastic job. That's all I can say. Everything that's been done so far from the start of this thing, it's showing, it's proof solid, I guess, as far as, you know, it's all for naught. I guess very solid wholesale changes, I guess, have made to it, and I think it's a solid piece. I mean, that's all I'll say. I'm not gonna go ahead and save this though. That was just to kind of demonstrate, I guess, as far as that process. But I would take the approach of saving that as a throwaway PTF, I guess, as far as with those pit jigs in there. If you do, even if you use cones or whatever you want to do, if you don't have the actual jig, or you know, the information like I got there, which, like I said, is 100% available on the Rock Nation Discord, so you can feel free to check that out in the Enter 2003 section of that. And in fact, I'll go ahead and put that information out here as I go ahead and close this thing out. So there are the there's your jackpot, as I spelled that wrong. There you go. So there's also GG's on the jackpot there. You finally got one right at the tail end of it all. I guess it's never over until the, how does that go? How does that saying go? Till the fat lady sings. We'll just say that. But yeah, there is the information for all the social medias as far as the Rock Nation Discord. Yeah, definitely just in time. We got the Spline Design Studios Facebook group page, and also the Rock Nation Discord as far as my Twitter. I'm sorry. So I got all those social medias that you can feel free to check out. I do tend to post on there quite a bit on the regular as far as information that go. I'm doing a lot of stuff for Farm Sim. I'm starting to do a little bit more for Wreckfest and things like that. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Hope everybody enjoys the somewhat unseasonably not very fall weather out here so far, but it is definitely going to start cooling down again. So Big Girl sings. There we go. There he goes. Torch is checking out his fluids there. You can feel free, if you so choose, I guess, to stick around, I guess, for the soft raid or the host at the end of the stream. I will see you all again no later than Wreckfest on the channel for Wednesday, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be more than likely continuing the playthrough of the Season 5 challenge in the tournament. I still have not gotten the trophy on either one of the weekly challenges or the season challenge, so I'll probably be still grinding that out. So if you do necessarily want to check that out live, I guess, as far as on Wednesday, do make sure you hit the follow button on the channel to make sure you don't miss that. And yeah, we will definitely see you all again soon. Bye for now.